Born to be alive. Born to be alive. You see, we're born, born, born to be alive. Time was on my time and I was running down the street and for the fight. She gave out an old guitar and something you'd occupy my mind. Yes, we were born to be alive. Born to be alive. Yes, we were born to be alive. People ask me why I never find a place to stop and settle down. I never wanted all those things before me to justify my life. Yes, we were born to be alive. Born to be alive. Yes, we were born to be alive. To be alive. To be alive. It's good to be alive. To be alive. To be alive. It's good to be alive. To be alive. occupy my mind. You see, before to be alive, want to be alive. You see, before, you see, before to be alive, want to be alive. You see, before, you see, before to be alive, want to be alive. You see, before, to be alive. Yes, you were born.
Born to be alive. Yes, we were born. Born. Born to be alive. Let's go, peoples.
Keys and an old guitar and something new to occupy my mind. You see, before to be alive, want to be alive. You see, before you see, before to be alive, want to be alive. You see, before.
Yeah, that is the longest version of that song I can actually find. So get used to that, because that's going to be my intro from now fucking on. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the new fucking channel, Taft's Bar. Get your drinks in, because they're free. Yeah, happy hour is all the hours. But we're going to do an elite Wrongun review, because it's been brought to my attention recently. So we're going to do this. Firstly, big up Rubber, Luke. Who else we got? Loopy Lou, Cam, Moonshine, Stanford Poker, which I think is 40. I'm not sure. I hope you stay and don't get fucking busted out soon. Rub Dub, Debla, 420, Belter, June, Tina, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-da-da-da-da-da, Morph, Charlie, Adam, Amy Louise, Lewis. He's not happy with that tune. Get used to it, bro. Get used to it. Patsy, Katie, Wee Man. Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get this fucking show rolling. Right, guys, let's get this fucking on. Just have a little look about this now. Born to be alive. Born to be alive. So we were born to be alive. Okay, let's have a little look. So I'm going to be stopping and starting, giving my little opinion, whatever it's worth. Adam, big up, lad. Anybody I've missed, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's fucking go. This will be Expose Prince Andrew by Paul Page. I think this guy was Lady Diana's confidant. Let's go. Let's look.
Boom, we're on. Today's guest, we've got Paul Page. Paul,
Nice
how
to
are
meet
you,
you,
brother?
mate.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Seen a few of your interviews.
Yeah.
60 Minutes in Australia, Lad Bible. But
Mm.
you've worked close with the royalties. You've been very outspoken against big names such as Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
We've all seen his interview. A bit embarrassing if I'm honest, but before we get into all the mad stuff, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good. I've been busy, as you know. Finished an interview with NBC last year that went at Peacock TV America. Obviously talking about Prince Andrew. And done a few other things. I've turned down quite a bit of stuff because I don't want to be someone bouncing around the scene. I've said what I've said because it's true. It's the more people that sort of understand what the man is about, Prince Andrew, the more they can make an informed decision of, you know, what he's actually done or what he's suspected of having done.
Before we get into everything, Paul, just get a bit understanding about you, what you've done in the past, what you're involved in.
Yeah.
So I always like to go back to the start of my guests, where you grew up and how it all began.
East London, not Essex, as some people
Stephen.
call me an Essex wide boy. I'm from East London, Leytonstone, born in Forest Gate. Stayed there most of my life, well, up until 20 when I joined Essex Police, and then moved to Grays. In fact, my sergeant, beat duty sergeant, welcomed me to the police station. She said, "Welcome to Grays, the arsehole of Essex." So yeah, it was that's where I first was based. Essex. I was there for about 3 years.
What were you like at school?
I wasn't massively clever. I was street smart. I got an O level in English and art, but I wasn't really that academic. I was more sports orientated. I
Bet he knows Brian Earl.
started karate when I was 8. Got my black belt when I was 14, and then got into the England karate team when I was 16. So I spent a lot of my sort of younger days traveling up and down the country and across Europe, fighting in competitions. Winning, you know, I won quite a bit. I wasn't the best of the best, and I won the British and English titles. Never got a European or world title, unfortunately. But I just didn't have that extra, as some of my friends did, went on to be world champions. I just didn't have that extra push. But yeah, it gave me discipline, gave me focus. It sort of instilled into me that you
Right. So I thought he was something to do with Diana, but obviously he's ex-copper. Yeah. Okay. near black belt, but not good enough, not quite ISO, yeah.
Work hard, harder than you've ever worked before. If you really want something, you
Big
can't
up, Rick.
get carried along. You've got to do it yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to go anywhere.
Yeah. How was your family upbringing?
I lived with I was brought up by my grandparents because my parents were having problems at the time. So I was fostered by those. Luckily for me, they were quite well off. So I didn't want for anything. As soon as I passed my test, I had a brand new car. I wasn't spoiled, but I was looked after by my grandparents. He had a building business, quite a successful business. Yeah, so I suppose he put me in for everything, to try and keep me busy. So
Big up,
Cub
Sid.
Scouts, got my Chief Scouts Award, Territorial Army, served 3 years in that,
All right, you're a fucking do-gooder. Come on, then, let's get on
from
with
the
it.
age of 17 to 20, before I went to the police. Worked as a lifeguard, fitness instructor,
Fuck.
and obviously England Karate International. So I was quite busy through my younger days. I wasn't a saint, don't get me wrong. I've been chased by the fucking police. I've just never been caught, but not doing any serious crime, but just being a little shit like
Yeah.
most people are.
Do you think keeping busy then kind of helps with the family breakup?
Yeah, I think that's why my grandparents did so much for me, to try and cover that gap that I never really had a normal relationship as my friends did. They lived with their parents, I was an only child. And so they did their best. But so I had an old school upbringing, old fashioned sort of views.
Yeah, as I go on, I'll be handing out spanners, guys. I'll sort of get back in the swing of it, and I. Yeah, no worries.
I took on, and it didn't do me any harm, but it gave me the drive to succeed. It gave me, my grandparents always said, no one's going to give anything in this life. You've got to work hard for it. And that's the ethics that I had at the time. And I wanted to be a millionaire. That is what I wanted, to be a millionaire.
Thank you, Paul. Welcome.
And I was going to achieve that some way. But I wasn't a businessman. I wasn't a builder. I didn't have those sort of qualities, to be able to start, designing stuff like my grandfather could. And like I said, I was more fitness and sports orientated. But what happened one time when I was in the Territorial Army, a friend of mine, I was only 18, and I knew his girlfriend because she worked in the same leisure centre as me. They were in a club. We had a fight with somebody, and he got stabbed to death. I think that was pretty tough. But then we were doing the funeral. The sort of the unit was going to carry the coffin in full uniform, and we had to practice with this coffin. And
Where's your fucking manners, Rick?
I just couldn't do it. I thought, nah. I didn't even go to the funeral, which I'm sorry about now. But yeah, that was the first sort of. It's the second incident I had, to do with a close person dying. When I was 6, my grandfather's brother lived with us, and I found him. I think about 6 or 7, and I found him dead. But I didn't really understand about dying. I just knew he was laying on the floor and he wasn't moving, and I was talking to him. I went downstairs, and he died of a heart attack. So that sort of, and then this happened, and you just think, fucking hell, life's too short. And I started looking around, thinking, what do I want to do? And I initially wanted.
If I've given somebody a spanner and it's a fucking it's a Wrongun account, guys, just let me know, and I will amend it.
To be a fireman, but they weren't recruiting at the time, so I thought, oh fuck it, I'll try the old bill. And the Met weren't recruiting, Essex was, so I applied for Essex Police, and got in.
What sort of training did you have to do to get into the coppers?
I think I did 20 weeks. I did it at and 2 seconds, I'll get it right in a minute. Shotley Police Training School, which is in Suffolk. So it's like a county training facility for Essex, Cambridge, Norfolk Constabulary. So amalgamation of different forces use that training school. So it wasn't Hendon. And that was
just keep chatting away in the chat, guys, so I can see you coming through and then we'll span a spanner, yeah?
That was pretty comprehensive. I think we did 10 weeks in the school, and then we came out for 5 weeks to our police stations and went on patrol with our beat officers that were going to teach us. So it was pretty intense.
Where's your manners, June?
Um,
What year was that?
that was 92. Yeah, 1992.
Oh, nearly 30, over 30 years ago.
Yeah. All right, calm down.
Shit, man, showing your age, Paul. Showing your
Yeah.
age.
But yeah, I mean, it was an eye opener. You know, the training was, as I say, the training was good, but it's you have to go on the streets to learn your trade. At the end of the day, you can do all the scenarios you want, but you know how they're going to end up because it's practice. It's different when you're on the streets.
What was the first thing you'd seen as a copper?
In my first year, I was nearly shot. I had to guard a horribly mutilated body, and I got assaulted. So those three things sort of were a steep learning curve. So nearly being shot, basically we were on night duty, and we're all in the station. No one had gone out, all sitting around doing fuck all basically. And then the phone rings. Someone says, "Oh, right, okay, yeah." Put the phone down. What's the matter? He said, "Oh, someone's wrecked their gunshots." Fuck it. Nah, it's probably fireworks. Then another call. Yeah, I think I've heard gunshots. And then another one. We think, right. Okay.
So guys, the same rules apply with the spanner. I don't want no cunt timed out for fucking just banter and that. You know the crack, yeah? Doxing, any of that shit. Anything like, you know my fucking rules. Same rules apply as the last fucking channel. Spanner ship, yeah? I don't know fucking about. As quick as I give them, I will take off away. Yeah, so I know it's just a blue spanner, but like at the end of the day, if you want to keep it, play the game tidy, innit? Yeah.
Okay, maybe we better go and have a look at this. So I was driving the duty inspector at the time. So we went to these block of flats in Grays, Conway Gardens, and all the lights were off, but the ground floor flat next to the entrance, the window was smashed and it was in darkness. So we went up, just looked, couldn't see anything, heard a little noise, we thought, and we buzzed one of the other neighbours to let us through the door. So as you go in the door, this door to the flats is directly on your left. So we knocked quietly on the door, nothing, looked through the letterbox, and we both looked through the letterbox, and we just heard like we knew what it was straight away, you know, and we just both ran, pushing each other out of the way. It was every man for himself. We were shoving each other. I didn't give a fuck that he had pips on his shoulders. I wasn't getting shot. And we just ran. We ran hell for leather back to the car, hid behind the car, called up for assistance. And it turns out that the fella had just been released from Southend Police Station. It was a domestic incident.
Hello, Dave.
He'd been released. He'd gone home, picked up a shotgun and a pistol.
This dude is an Essex copper. Most probably knows Brian Earl well.
Nasty bit of work. And he'd come back to his girlfriend's flat where she was there with a 6-year-old child and her brother. He'd shot the window out, climbed through, beat the brother up, tied him up on the floor. So the noise we heard.
Hold on, Dave. How many fucking accounts you coming in with, bro? It's insane. It's insane. I don't know which is the right Dave now. Fucking Dave, what are you doing?
When we were looking through the window, a little scuffle. It was him on the floor, tied up. And anyway, firearms teams and negotiators turned up, tried to talk him out. He's ended up going in the bathroom with the girlfriend and his child, and just blew his head off. I remember going in there, and it was just it was the blood was everywhere. And the weird thing was the girl didn't have any blood on her, just completely clean.
How do you deal with that? The aftermath.
I
Still struggle with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. It's really difficult because, you know, I know at the current climate, no one likes the old bill, and there's a lot of shit coming out, and these people, rightly so, should be persecuted for what they've done. You know, we'll talk about stuff that I've done, and you know, but that being in that kind of environment, being in that job, it doesn't matter who you are. People sitting there listening to me, go and join the police and see what it's like for yourself. You can sit there and judge people like me, but unless you've been there and you've been in situations like I'm going to describe for you, then you just need to take it on board. It's not, life's not a bowl of cherries. You know, people don't play straight. You know, in that situation now, I didn't think about it at the time. I was more concerned about the kids and the woman. We went in after it was all clear. What they were taken away. And then I remember them saying that he'd lost so much blood, they had trouble back in the mortuary trying to take blood samples out of him. And then when they lifted him over, they found the pistol stuffed down his trousers. And I thought at the time, fucking hell, he could have just shot as soon as we knocked on the door. We shouldn't have knocked on the fucking door. It could have just gone bang, and we'd have both been shot dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, since I've been doing these podcasts over the last 5 years, that I wasn't anti-authority because I wasn't that bad, but I used to go, oh, fuck the police. But then when you actually speak to them, like undercover coppers and the strain, undercover paedophile, the guy went 20 years working the world's darkest job. I believe the strain and the stress that they go through and the things that you see, the horrors, trying to do the right thing. Listen, there's good and bad everywhere. I always say this stuff, but to people to do that job, and because I know the majority of coppers now are turning to alcohol or drugs to black out the pain, because what they see, there's not enough things in place to help them for the trauma that they see. PTSD, probably see worse things in the police than some people do in the army.
30 years ago, there was not much about it. And there was colleagues around me that did have mental health issues and actually had breakdowns. A sergeant who was a good copper, he just lost the plot. PC, same thing. I remember the first, that was one incident, but the first incident that I was faced with death was we had a call to a washing powder factory that a man had committed suicide in the factory, on the floor of the factory. So again, I was with my inspector. So we went down there. His colleagues were traumatized. Obviously, they've walked in. Imagine the scene. It was like like a coal train. They've got them carriages. It's sort of like that, and it was going around in a circle. But at each sort of station, there was a shaft that pumped powder into the things, and it just kept going. And if you see what I mean, to make the whatever it is, the powder. And as we've walked in, this sort of train thing is stopped, but there's still like loud noise in the place. And as we looked on the floor, there was a headless corpse on the floor, and it just looked like a fucking dummy. That was my, you know what I mean? I was like, shit. And I'm trying to stay focused and listening to what's going on, but I'm staring at this body thinking, is that fucking real? Because it just didn't look real. Because the shock took over. I mean, I didn't throw up. I wasn't sort of physically sick, but mentally I was like, so we had to secure the scene because we didn't know what had happened at the time. So I was tasked with guarding this body on my own. And of course, then there's no one in this big fucking warehouse. It's just for me in this body and loud noise. And I'm starting looking and I'm thinking, shit. My colleague was downstairs.
He's quiet today. Fucking head's gone, big bog.
So I was by this exit door, and he was down the next floor to stop anyone coming up and coming in and obviously being faced with this situation. All of a sudden, a loud voice comes out of this body. Like, so I can't even remember because I was so frightened. I just fucking run. I kicked through the door. I ran downstairs. I went, there's something going on. You need to get the fuck up there. I panicked. So I just lost the plot. So he came back up, and what had happened was he's got a radio on him, and someone downstairs was using the radio. But because I was focused on this body and things were going through my head, I wasn't thinking like practically. Teresa. And I got the piss taken at me for that badly. I was torn to pieces when I went back to the net. But the worst thing was because I'd reacted like that. Obviously, he's gone on the road and said, "Oh, Pagey's fucking shit himself." Blah blah. Where to find the head? So they made me go and look for the head and climb up on all the machinery. They turned it all off, and I found this poor fella's head, and it was resting on this piece of machinery, just staring at me, his eyes open. So I said, look, I found the head. So Socko came down, and back in them days, I mean, Socko now, scenes of crime officers, are mainly civilians, but back then it was like detectives, DCs, and detective sergeants. And this old sweat come along, and he's taking pictures of the scene. Ambulance had been and obviously confirmed death, obviously. So he was waiting for the mortuary people to arrive, and he said to me, "Right, son, get up there and get that head down." I went, "Sorry?" He goes, "You're going to have to get the head down." He goes, "We need to get the head." I said, "I'm not touching that." And they were again. I said, "No, I'm not." That was a step too far. So I knew that I didn't do it, but the head was recovered. But then I started thinking about who this person was, and this is where it gets you, because it's all right dealing with a horrific scene, but then you start to think, "Oh fuck, he had a wife, he had family. What are they going to think?" You know what I mean? And then that's what hits you. You start thinking about the people that left behind and the situation that's occurred. Now, I never got to find out whether or not it was an accident or whether he committed suicide. What I do know is he'd only just come back off of a Jamaican holiday, 2-week holiday. So he's still in holiday mode, but now his wife's faced with being told that her husband's never going to come home again.
Mm-hmm.
So the situations when you're dealing with them, you can deal with them at the time, but like you just said, it's up here when that starts to affect that is when you start to go off piste. And you can be as impartial as you want. And a police officer can come and go and say, well, it's part of the job. Well, it might be part of the job, but it still affects normal people. If you're not affected, you're fucking nuts. It's as simple as that.
How hard is it going to see families and tell them that they've lost loved ones?
I've only ever been there once, luckily. Well, say luckily. It wasn't. It was a road accident.
He's here blowing smoke up each other's asses, doing my fucking heads rolling and that.
My money back. And I'll sort of
involved with working with the royal family.
Okay, so I was at Marylebone, and I suppose maybe we should just start off from Essex and what happened. How I progressed into the Met. So in Essex, we're going to go down the road of now. There's two types of corruption. I credit Michael Gillard for what I'm about to say now because it's in his book, The Untouchables, about the anti-corruption command. But there's two types of corruption. There's bent for self and there's bent for the job. I don't know if you've ever heard them terms.
No, can you explain them?
Okay, so bent for self is corruption. In corruption terms, is a copper who's out for himself, who's liaising with criminals, who's dealing. When you go and do a raid, he's having after coke away or after money away, stuff like that. Yeah, selling information to criminals for personal gain. Yeah, bent for the job is noble cause corruption, which back in the 90s, Paul Condon even said publicly, look, police officers getting pissed off with the courts not giving proper sentences to criminals. So they're getting out when they should be getting jail, and they're, carrying on what they were doing. We're wasting our time. So police officers would bridge the gap with evidence. For example, if you know someone's bang at it and they're a fucking nuisance on your patch and you see them at it for 2 a.m, right, a burglar, and you're watching them and they're not really doing anything, they're hovering around, they're looking for an opportunity. Well, I've just seen you fucking try and open that window. Yeah. You have them for attempted burglary or make a false statement basically of assault on police or whatever. That's what happens. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you're bending the rules to sort of I don't know, scoop Wronguns.
If we got Brian early in your area, yeah. Wasting police time, yeah, all the fucking time, yeah. Then it becomes a bit of a fucking piss take, yeah.
Up, you want to call it that. They're at no good, but you can't prove it at the time. Or so you suspect. Let's say it like that way. I mean, this fella could have done 10 burglaries, but he could be walking home from a night on the piss. You don't know. But that's sort of, examples. I mean, I got myself, and as I said to you about, I dealt with a situation. It was a kid, 14, 15. And we got called to Grays Railway Station and he was laying on the tracks, laying next to...
Come on, you cunt. You're a cunt.
Next time I saw him, didn't subject... What was this fucking nut?
You're a fucking...
They've got too many...
You're a nut.
Who had the tendencies of being attracted to kids and basically a paedophile, but he'd never acted on it, but he could still watch his sister's kids, his other brother's kids, but he spoke out about it. He has those thoughts, but he doesn't act on it. Do you think people have ever came forward to get help, to say that I need help? Because how hard is it when you've got an addiction or whatever from drink or drugs or gambling to come forward and admit something?
That's a grey area. That's a hard one.
Do you think there should be more things in place for people?
Yeah.
But whether people would come forward and say they've got those tendencies is a different story. But do you think there should be enough things in place for people to go?
Oh, definitely. If there's something in place where people who have got the tendency can be identified themselves to these people, then that's what we need. We don't want them running around under the radar with these tendencies, because they might at some stage act on them. I've always been of the opinion that the most important person in these type of situations is the survivor. Yeah, the person who's the perpetrator, at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, you've got no rights. You gave up your rights to as an ordinary decent human being to be protected by the law when you touched a child, or you looked at child pornography. Therefore, to safeguard these people, which are the priority, you are going to be locked up for a long time. And what we should do...
You're not going to be locked up for long enough for let's be fair, it's not long enough, is it?
Is people with drug habits, minor criminals, petty thieves. They should be put on community service, take them out of the prisons and put these fuckers
Well, I totally agree with this guy.
in their cells. Yeah, because that way they're off the streets. They don't need to be supervised by the police. Yeah, in terms of, you know, having to check on these people. Let the prisons deal with them. Lock them up, 5 years, 10 years, life, whatever. I don't really give a fuck as long as they're off the streets. Because the question that I'd ask anyone is, if you're at a bus stop with your kids, who would you rather be stood next to? Someone with a drug problem, or a petty thief, or a fucking paedophile, or a sex
Good point. Good fucking point. Good fucking point.
case? It's a simple answer, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. And as I said, you know, I've explained that I've you know what I've done with sex cases, and unfortunately, I don't regret what I did. It's not right. It's, you know, legally it was wrong, completely wrong. Morally is a different sort of question.
Yeah, I would back you all day
You know,
for what you've done.
You know,
I'd be standing with you.
and I'm not defending myself what I did, but if you understand when you're in that environment, I mean, the bravest police officers that you could ever have are the ones that do child sex crimes and you know, women who have been sexually abused, raped. That is a tough gig. CO19 firearms officers, anti-terrorism coppers, you know, all the singing, all dancing, tough guys. No, those people, those individuals that are doing that kind of stuff. I mean, I've got ultimate respect for, obviously, for all police officers, but those individuals that have got the mental strength to do that, mate, when I've read things that these people have done, it just, you know, it wasn't good.
What's it like interviewing a paedophile?
Luckily, I haven't done
Never.
that. I've read evidence
Do you think
in
you
a
could?
file.
Do you think you could hold your temper?
No,
though?
I couldn't. No, I'll admit, mate, you know, I wasn't the best
Why are you
police
so
officer.
passionate about it?
I just think it's the worst crime you could commit. It's the fucking worst crime you.
I'm on that moon. Death penalty for these motherfuckers. Bring back that fucking death penalty. Definitely, 150%. Get them fucking gone.
Could ever commit, right? Touching a kid or looking at that sort of stuff. You know, that's something. I don't believe in God and I don't believe in the devil, but if there was a devil, I'd say these are the fucking disciples. Do you know what I mean? And I, as I said, having read stuff and having been briefed on what had happened to a kid and what they did to him, and being in front of the kid and seeing the state of him, I mean, that to me is, you know, my worst nightmare, just to see someone like that. So then to be faced, even though I'm in police uniform, to be faced with a piece of shit that perpetrates these crimes, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't professional enough to just fucking let it go. Yeah, I wasn't professional enough. And you know, and this is where we come into impartiality. And then obviously you're not a good police officer, you're a fucking uniform, you're a vigilante. Probably was all those things. You know, what can I fucking say? I'm not a saint, as we'll soon find out. But I have a set of principles. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, have the rest of the force got the same principles as you? That's the fucking question.
Three of them is don't hit coppers, don't hit old people, women, or you know, sexually abuse kids. Any of those things you do, then you're in trouble. It's as simple as that. Now, old school criminals knew what the score was back in the day. If they hit a copper, they're going to get a double clump. They know what the score is and they accept it because that's part and parcel of, you know, back in them days. Nowadays, it's completely different. You know, people go, oh, fucking police hitting people. I don't agree with police brutality, right? I don't agree with it in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. But there's certain times in a police officer's life where he's going to have to use sheer fucking violence. It's either you or the individual, you know. And I've got a problem with the police in today's sort of society. And I've always had it really in terms of a police officer should be as fit as fuck. He should look the part. Yeah. If I see Fat Boy walking down the road with his hat on, I'm thinking, what are you going to do? If your colleague's having his head kicked in 100 meters away, you're not getting there. You owe it to yourself as a police officer, as a human being. But when you step into that uniform, you owe it to yourself, your family, your colleagues, and the public to be as fit as you can be. Yeah, not an orange on a toothpick, not a fucking little skinny person or a big fat blob. You need to be fit. Get yourself down to a certain level, a decent level of fitness. The police fitness test is a joke. The police self-defense training is a joke. It's all worrying about if someone gets hurt, we might get sued. Listen, if these people are worried about getting hurt, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's fucking basically breaking down what is wrong with our police force. Hello, Amy, love. This is exactly what they are fucking having to put up with. Shit.
When you go on
And this is coming from a top, obviously, innit? Yeah.
and you're in a fight, and I've seen it, police officers freeze. My personal opinion is you should be, you know, obviously you've got a good communication skills. That's your, you know, they say your tactical options, like your baton and your asp or your spray, or your taser there. Firstly, it's your gob. You've got to be able to talk to people, because most of the time I would be able to talk to people reasonably. I was confident in my own physical abilities. I'm not a fucking.
I think what he's basically admitting is his inadequate. They're all inadequate, and they're not up to the job. They've just been enrolled, and they're not fucking fit for the job. They'll take in any old fucking fat lump of shit, like Dan, yeah, and his wheelchair fucking chasing down a criminal, like.
Hard nut, but I could fight. I was a fighter. I've trained for years, day in, day out, 2-3 hours a day. So I'm confident. I've you know, my nose is flat. I've had, you know, I can take a punch. So if someone hit me, it wouldn't faze me. But some of these people that are in the job, they've never had any kind of physical confrontation. Now they're stepping into the lion's den. Like I said, life's not a bowl of fucking cherries. You're going to come across people like that are nasty, horrible, bad people, and they will turn around and knock the teeth down your throat. So there's an element for me that the self-defense training, people should get their asses down the gym, go boxing, do UFC training, you know, all that kind of stuff. Learn proper, you know, learn how to take a punch and learn how to fight properly. Because arm bars and arm locks and all this tosh they teach the police to do doesn't work when you're on your own. I mean, it might be 5 or 6 years, yeah, that's fine. But if you're on your own and it's toe to toe with someone and you can't fire a punch, you're fucked. I'm not advocating, as I say, I'm not advocating everyone goes that starts whacking people. No, I'm not. I'm saying when it comes down to it, you've got 2 choices when you're in a life or death situation. You either fold like a deck of cards because you're worried about getting a complaint, or you end up on a fucking slab. You know, or you know, you end up on a slab.
Did you get penalised for that?
When I did assault, which is what I did, I assaulted these paedophiles and stitched them up. No, well, my colleagues were around me. We're all of the same opinion. You know, we stick together. They're dirty, fucking horrible people.
Big up, lad. I don't often say that to a copper, but big up.
I was more interested in
well, ex-copper, I suppose.
How can you put it? See, you go to a job. The people, as I said to you before, spending time with decent people, but you see the worst in people. You join them.
I think this guy is like old school copper, like the old school ones. Like I can see that in him, 100%. 100%. He's old school, and he would have no place in today's police force. This guy, he wouldn't last 2 seconds because, like, he's gonna throw his fist before he opens his mouth. This guy. So that's the trouble with today's police force. They're too fucking scared to come down on you because of complaints. 100%.
The place you see the absolute fucking worst in people. I mean, I was from the East End. I was on the streets. You know, I you know, I've done a fair bit. But as soon as I got dropped into the, you know, the police, it was a fucking eye-opener. You know, you sort of all your thoughts that you have, you know, you've got to change. You've got to be completely and utterly impartial. And I failed on that. You know, I put my hands up. Like I said, I just couldn't. I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't deal with these people. I thought, you're fucking dangerous. You know, you're a child molester, and you're standing there and you're laughing. You think you're fucking funny. You know what I mean? So in my eyes, every time I see you, I'm going to fucking terrorise you, and you're going to know what it's like to be a fucking victim there. And it wasn't on a day-to-day basis. It was every now and again we'd see these individuals. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. One little fuckery. He was going in women's clothes shops, saying, "Oh, I just want to try my wife, buy something for my wife. She's the same size as me. So if I just try it on," he would go and then start like masturbating, waiting for the woman to come over and open the curtain. I mean, what the fuck? Fuck. You know what I mean? Another one sniffing around. Fuck. Young children with a long record, and I'm thinking, he's done all this, but he's still walking the streets. What the fuck's going on?
Why do you think the sentences are too lenient in the UK?
I think a lot of it's to do with the prison population. I genuinely think that there's not enough room. The judges are given scope and say, look, we can't keep locking them up. I mean, the worst thing is, I think last year or the year before, sex offences against children and young people is at its highest it's ever been. I mean, we could say phones and the internet are a lot to blame for that. But
pin your ears back, guys, because this is why fucking paedophiles are getting piss poor sentences, and like the death penalty is miles away from them. And it's costing us fucking millions to keep them in prison every year on their little non-swings.
Again, the sentencing is just shit. You know, I just genuinely believe, listen, if we had a load of ex-military personnel, when you come out of prison, you got fuck all. You go and see a probation, there's no motivation. In jail, you go to work, you come back to cell, you go gym. Do you know what I mean? You've got a set sort of routine. When you come out of jail, you've got nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, sort of people with drug habits, they should be dealt with on the outside, gutter clinks, but they should be given, if you had ex-army people working off the probation service that were motivators, that maybe got them jobs in warehouses. There's plenty of fucking jobs in warehouses and shops and stuff like that. Pick them up in a minibus from wherever they are, drop them off in the morning, pick them up at night. Give them a fucking routine when they come out, because they come out to nothing. And what do? They revert to type. They go back to the same environment and pick up where they left off, because they've got nothing to change that environment. Some don't get me wrong. There's other people who think, do you know what, fucking hell, I can't be going back in there.
Yeah. So you've done that for 6 years, 92 to 98?
I did, Essex from 92 to 95, and then I transferred to the Met in 95, went to Marylebone, and that was completely different.
What's different from the beat to the Met?
Because when in the county forces like Essex, and you know everyone. So I was at Grays, I knew every copper at Ockenden, I knew every copper at Corringham, Tilbury. I
bet this guy fucking did know Brian Earl, you know. I bet he knows Brian Earl, this guy.
We'll know if there was a knobhead in one of the police station, we know who they were, or grass, or someone like
Guaranteed.
like that. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't trust.
This fucking ex-copper knows you, Brian.
We'd know. When you go to
and you know him.
The Met, you're not a fucking name anymore, you're just a number, because there's so many of you. But again, with Essex, as I was saying to you, people go, oh, he's fun. Listen, right, I've only ever, and my colleagues have only ever had proper scraps when we've had to. One of the reasons, main reasons, because there's not enough of us to start proper, you know what I mean? When you're in Essex, you've got to be able to talk to people, because your backup might be 10 minutes away. So you've got to have good communication skills. You know you're going to nick this person, but you can't do anything yet because you need backup. So you have to have good communication skills. And if you're and in the Met, it's not so. That's why it had a bad reputation back in the day for people abusing, the public, because you'd get someone who like I said to you before, would start a fucking fight in an empty room like a copper, because he's got bad communication skills.
What makes a good copper?
You've got to be well-rounded. You've got to have life experience. I personally think ex-military, someone who's from a sporting background, or you can have people from offices from all walks of life. You've got to have that sort of combination. I know, but a good copper is someone who can speak. I keep coming back to it. But if you can talk someone down rather than handcuff them on the floor and have a scrap, then you're winning, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Winning friends and influencing people. That's what they say.
Mm-hmm. So when did you join the royal family?
I went from Marylebone to 98. I went to Royal Protection.
What was that decision?
Well, I made that decision.
Yeah.
As I said to you, because I was from an old school sort of policing environment. So people will know back in the 90s what happens if you hit a copper. You're going to get a double clump, because who else is there to protect us but us? So our mindset was that if you're a sort of police officer, then you're going to get a fucking hard smack. So there was a thing back in the day called a reception committee. So if you've hit someone, a police officer, you just call up on the radio reception committee. Everyone goes back to the police station. They line up, and as you bring this person through, they get a fucking clump off of everyone before they get into the custody office. Was it justified? Was it right? Yes and no. As I say, I'm only going to be honest in my own opinion. Other people might say, well, you fucking cunt. Well, that's my opinion. Yeah. No one else is going to protect us. And if you don't, in our
Guys, if you haven't subscribe, please. Subscribe, please, and hit that fucking like if you can. That'd be nice.
eyes, back then, it was different society, as I said. If you don't teach this individual that assaulting a police officer, you're going to get hurt yourself, it will carry on doing it. And it could kill someone at the end of the day. An example would be one fella, he was a nice bloke. He was a beat officer. And he used to go around to the schools and the old people's homes and do all the stuff that, you know, people want to see a police officer. He didn't want to be running around in police cars and, you know, with sirens on. He just wanted a quiet life, riding a bike, which is fine. You know, he wasn't physically capable either, if you know what I mean. He was just a nice bloke. And his nickname was Wilf, because they called him Wilf because he was always in old people's homes eating tea and cake. And on one particular occasion, he was on a night jury. He was on his own, single crewed. And all the local yobs knew him and used to take the piss out of him because he didn't have anything about him. Anyway, he's gone to this disturbance one night and they've just kicked the absolute fuck out of him. Absolutely battered him. Do you know what I mean? For no good reason. So we went down there. We systematically got on one by one and we fucking smashed it to pieces. And as far as I'm concerned, rightly so. 10 people onto one police officer. Yeah, no, you've got to set an example. You've got to set an example to these fucking thugs that don't care about the law. They're terrorizing old people. They're fucking robbing people and they're doing this, that, and others. Do you know what I mean? You've got to cut the head off the snake. That's what we thought. Well, that's how we were back in them days. It wasn't about going around beating everyone up. It wasn't. It was about when you're involved with dangerous people that are willing to go and do that to a police officer, you've got to fight fire with fucking fire. And close them down and shut them down and put them back in their place and make them understand, if you do that, this is what we're going to do. And that's how it was. So I've gone to the Met. Similar thing happened. 2 British Transport police officers were viciously assaulted by 4 scumbags. They beat the shit out of them at Oxford Circus train station. So I turned up with a colleague. We was in a Sherpa van. Back then, we just had bench seats. It didn't have cages or anything like that. And they've put one of these scumbags in the back of our van. I've jumped in the back, but unbeknownst to me, a female officer from Holborn had got into the passenger seat. I didn't know who she was. So that was my mistake, because if you're going to deal with something the way we, as I said, we deal with it, make sure you're with your own people. I didn't see her get in the van anyway. So I had a conversation with this fella, explained, so I'm going to take the cuffs off and we're going to have a fucking straightener. You know, again, I'm not being a big man or anything like that, but that's how it was. It's just, mate, you can't go around. Look, the state of them 2 officers, for no good reason, because you're pissed up and you was hassling people. And they've come to ask you to fuck off home nicely and you've turned on them. All right. So we ended up having a scrap and I knocked him out. And this officer had heard me say about a straightener and something other, and then she heard the scuffle, but she couldn't see exactly what had gone on. But she looked around and he was uncuffed and he was unconscious. And she'd reported it to her inspector. And back in them days, it was just starting to come where officers were, the supervisors before would sort of fuck it off and say, listen, go and sit down. Don't worry about it and leave it.
She fucking reported it. Sneaky fucking bitch.
Wouldn't take the complaint any further. But this time, this inspector did. And I got word that anti-corruption were coming down to interview me about an assault. So I wrote my statement out because what they do is they'll come down and goes, all right, listen, it's not nothing bad, but we should have a little chat off the record. What happened? And they're fucking all mic'd up. Do you know what I mean? You know, for any officers out there, never ever talk to the anti-corruption command unless it's on tape, and always have your prepared statement. I said, no, it's in the statement, Chief Inspector. He goes, oh, right. I said, I can't say anything more, sir. Just read the statement. That's what I remember, or I'll read it for you. So it's all right. And then he said to me, all right, the person that I had a scrap with didn't make a complaint about me. He got charged with assault on police, but never mentioned a word about what happened. All right, so it wasn't a complaint from him. It was just this officer. He said, all right, well, look, we're gonna let this go this time. He said, I know what you fucking did. He goes, I understand why you did it. I said, but you can't fucking do these things anymore. He goes, they're taught at training school now. Officers coming through training school that if they see something they don't like, they need to report it to a supervisor. And I just thought, okay, my sort of way I thought, which is rightly or wrongly.
As I thought, he's old school copper, and it's like there's no place for these old school coppers no more. And that's what's the problem, guys. That is the problem with Britain right now. Is there's none of these guys left. They're all by the book. They're all by the book. And that's why we're in a fucking mess.
Loyalty to my colleagues and whatever else. I'm done. I was quite wealthy at the time. I was importing Porsches and Mercedes, and because I wanted to be a millionaire, as I said, I was buying and selling property. I had a nice car, 2 nice cars, Mercedes. So I had money wrapped around me. Did I need to stay in the job? Not really, but I did because I loved the environment. I loved the people I work with.
Do you think you loved the violence though? And you got away with it a bit more because you were a copper?
No, I did. Most of the violence I did was in the ring. I did, but I boxed for the Met. I won the heavyweight title. So the violence that I did was on people that would attack police officers. Or
what's this got to do with fucking?
Protect you. What you got been off for? Right. So what? So anyway, we didn't leave it. My issue with that is, and you'd say the same, if one of your friends, where he was abroad, you found out they'd done this and he just got out of jail for it, you'd ring him up and say, delete my number and fuck right off and put the phone down. Right. You wouldn't travel 3,000 miles and then spend 3 days to say goodbye to him, would you? And that was a big issue because he's a senior member of the royal family. Why the fuck was he allowed, or why did he make sure that he was able to go and visit this individual? Because there'd have been a lot of security checks in place for him. You'd have the travel. We've got like a section within Royal Protection that deals with all the travel for roles and all the rest of it. So they will liaise with local police wherever they go and make sure they know where the local hospitals is, the local police stations, just if there was an emergency. Same if they go abroad. He's a senior member of the royal family. Therefore, wherever he goes needs to be vetted. They need to know where he's going, who he's going to visit, so they can contact the local police. They can do the checks on the premises to make sure it's not owned by the fucking mafia or Russian state or anything like that, where it could be bugged and cameras. And they'd obviously check out it was coming back to Epstein. And obviously they'd say that he's coming to visit Epstein. And it would flag up. It would say, but he's a convicted felon. You do know that. And they'd go back to Rory and they'd say, sir, you do know. And he's obviously gone, I'm going. He's obviously gone against advice for whatever reason that is. There's obviously something there that he was frightened was going to come out or Epstein was going to say about him. And that's why he's gone. Otherwise, there's no good reason. The excuse he came up with was absolute tosh. There's something. What it is, I don't know. But he's worried about Epstein had knowledge of something he'd done.
That's right, Amy. There's no fucking respect, yeah, is it? No bastard respect, yeah.
Because I've spoke to a few people when we touch on the craze who are listening with perfect fucking nonsense as well. But they had information on politicians. That's why they never get sent to prison until somebody burned the evidence and then they end up getting life sentence, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Do you think Epstein had something on Prince Andrew where
potentially
he tried to keep him sweet? Because Epstein would have been a mass manipulator.
Yeah.
Finally, an hour into the fucking interview,
like I say, Andrew's not the smartest tool in the shed. Do you think Epstein's been feeding him women? Possibly, maybe not girls, maybe just women partying, and he's got video footage. Or because if you're on that island with Clintons and Woody Allens and high up profile names, listen, a lot of people might have just been thinking free holiday or whatever, but there was rumours that Epstein, way back in the 70s, I think he was a maths teacher and he was being inappropriate with young girls, so it was always there, same as Jimmy Savile. There was always rumours there. I think Johnny Rotten outed him away back in the 90s. I think they'd done an interview. But do you think Epstein had something over Prince Andrew?
Potentially. I mean, that's how it appears to be for the way Prince Andrew has acted by going to New York to visit him. You know what I mean? To do that, and obviously the shitstorm that was created out of that visit, to do that, there must have been something Prince Andrew was worried about. Any logical person, if you always say, would a reasonable person do this, that, and the others? Well, would a reasonable person go and visit a convicted sex offender? No, you wouldn't, especially in the position that this person was, a senior member of the royal family. You would not do it. You would be advised not to go, and yet he went. So there is definitely. I've always said he's got questions to answer, but he'll never have to answer them.
So, did you ever see kids coming in to the palace? Because I had someone on police whistleblower. He spoke about Ted Heath, who was a prolific nonce. He was a prime minister. He says two of the coppers used to bring kids as young as 10 in to see Ted Heath.
Yeah.
One of the kids ended up snapping and saying to him straight, but their two kids get sacked. Or they get sacked.
No kids. As I say, it was all women in their early to late 20s. You know, we never saw anything, any females. We'd think, oh, does your mum know where you are? Do you know what I mean? It was just straight, normal individuals.
What about Glenn Maxwell? Was she ever there?
All the time. She was all the time. I've already publicly said that she had the sort of the run of the palace. You know, she was in and out very frequently, and to the point where we actually thought they were in some form of relationship. You know, no one else had the sort of access to the palace as she did, and that's what gave us the impression that there was a relationship going on. We were just told to wave her through, and not sort of get involved when she was coming into the palace. So,
but it's strange though. Again, she's just been done for trafficking. Like, how these people are all connected with it. Like,
I just think the issue you've got with Prince Andrew, what he's got, is 6 or 7 of his closest friends are convicted sex offenders.
Wow. Fucking hell.
I mean, one individual that say you
not looking good, old Andrew boy.
No, suddenly you'd found out wasn't it, but half a dozen that's you know what I mean. What the fuck's going on? And that's the issue he faces. I mean, he's never going to come back into public life. And as I said, just because he's got a title, it doesn't mean that he's not. Let me start that again. Just because he's got a title after his name doesn't mean he's a good person. You know, he's proved himself to be less than honourable on so many levels. You know, why are we having to look after this idiot? He's damaged the royal family, you know, badly. I mean, the Harry and Meghan situation, that's none of my business, but you know, that's another issue. But the royal family, as it's now the Queen's gone, it's starting to crumble. You know, it's starting to just deteriorate into something that's. I think people are going to be more supportive of the anti-monarchist sort of situation.
What did you think of the princess? What did you think of Prince Andrew's interview?
The interview with Prince Andrew, it was clear that he was lying on a number of levels. I mean, that was a mad thing to do. I actually think because he's been brought up in this bubble when he's never heard the word no, they actually believed he could pull it off, you know, and that we would believe everything he said. It was complete nonsense, complete and utter nonsense, and that's what killed him. And that's probably the court case that would have been brought up in the court case had it gone to court. You know, the main person who would have been the sort of the one that's going to bring him down was himself, because of the things he said. You know, I don't sweat.
Yeah. Who would have green lighted that interview?
He did. That's what I'm saying. No one's going to say no to Prince Andrew. Yeah, he would have green lighted that himself. He would have thought it was the right thing to do. I mean, I've said it publicly as well. I mean, to publicly defend a relationship with a convicted paedophile, I mean, that's just disrespecting survivors of abuse all around the world. It just shows his mentality. You know, that he's not even thinking about what he's saying. You know what I mean? And the world's watching, and you're talking like that.
So he said he didn't swear. He went to see Epstein because he didn't want to be a chicken to break up with a convicted paedophile. But he says he went to a pizza shop with the night of, was it Roberts? What's her name?
Yeah, Virginia Giuffre.
Virginia Roberts. Like, so what age was this girl? 17?
17, I believe.
Yeah. And she says she was trafficked. Went with Andrew 3 times. Like, what's your whole rundown on it all? What's your opinion on Prince Andrew, Epstein, Maxwell?
If we put it like this, if it was one of us, our feet wouldn't have touched the ground. We'd have been interviewed about what the allegations that were made by this individual. But it never happened. I think there's something that Prince Andrew has done that's clear that there is an issue. He's got an issue. And also, I look at the fact that if someone has made an allegation, which you're saying is a malicious allegation against the royal family, a member of the royal family surely would have pulled together and used every, legal framework that they had and power that they had to defend the individual against this allegation. But they never. They basically left him. to it. And I'm pretty sure that the Queen and Prince Charles were the ones that told him to pay the money, because if he'd have gone to court, he would have just talked himself into the electric chair. You know, he'd have just been ripped to pieces.
But I didn't think royal family could ever go to court. So why were they even answering questions? Because I know some countries you can't even speak out against the royalties. You go to prison.
That's a good point. That's a good point. He didn't even have to do that interview, which condemned him. I don't sweat. Fucking dirty.
I think you know, it can be questioned. You know, he could have been questioned about what had happened, about the allegations that were made against him, but it wasn't. You know, if the Metropolitan Police deemed that legally that they didn't have the framework to interview him, even a voluntary interview. I mean, he did say that he took to the FBI, but then he never. You know, if you're innocent, you're going to be fucking shouting it for the rooftops. You're going to be saying, "Listen,
Exactly.
of course I'll support your investigation. Of course I'll come forward and talk to you because I've done fuck all wrong." You know, why are you hiding behind your legal team? If that's really what you're telling us, that this is the truth, then defend yourself. You know, don't hide behind a payment and then start gobbing off again. You know, at the end of the day, he's gone too far. He's you know, he's been connected with too many bad people, and he just needs to disappear and stay out the limelight.
So see, when he goes out of Buckingham Palace, like,
I think how well kicks him out.
Yeah, but how well were they protected when they go out, like security wise?
Well, he would have had a couple of PPOs with him, probably one. If it's an official engagement, he might have a PPO and a backup, a car with 4 backups in it. But if it's a private engagement, he'll just have one PPO with him, protection officer. But now I don't know whether I did say before the Queen had passed away that they'll slim the royal family down, and I think his security has been slimmed down. I don't know if he's got civilian security now. I don't even know if he's got armed protection anymore.
What's it like at a private event with the royal family?
You just get loads of heads. You know, I've been there when President Bush came in on a Black Hawk helicopter. I've been there when Putin was there and his security team. Chinese premier. There's a big security. You can imagine those kind of people come to the palace. There's massive security presence.
Who had the biggest security with them?
Oh, the Bush. He had fucking loads. You know, they had handheld Stinger missiles apparently in the back of the car. They had people on rooftops all in different buildings for fucking miles.
Have you got a license to kill?
Have I got a license to kill?
Yeah.
Not a license to kill. When you carry a firearm as an AFO, obviously you've got a certain list of rules. Most of them I've forgotten now, but
he fucking is James Bond.
You're there to protect life and protect property. So if there's a situation where if you don't act, someone could get killed or you could get killed, then obviously you're duty bound to use your weapon. Mm-hmm. And if someone gets killed, then you're going to have to justify it.
Was Harry and William ever at the palace when you were there?
I'd seen them when they were kids. They were young. They were at St James's when I used to work. I used to work at different palaces, and they were lovely kids. They'd always come and talk to the police and just wave, and you know they were more down to earth. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have that sense of entitlement. Mm-hmm.
This dude behind this fucking Paul Page, he's obviously ex-copper, and he is dropping bombs. Like he's got to be careful. Like, to be fair, he got to be careful. Like
senior royals did, and you know Prince Charles had a sense of entitlement. Then he's the future heir to the throne. You know, Prince Anne was the same, but the kids were sort of different. They were a lot more friendly.
Because obviously you've got the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle thing now, and I thought it was quite noble at the start. I thought, because I like Princess Diana, I thought amazing woman, and I thought, you know what, he's trying to look after his wife and his kids. But then I seen them do interview after interview, Netflix, books, and podcasts, and I'm thinking, has he been manipulated? But it looks, for my judging of appearance and way.
That's a good point, Lou. I don't know. If he's got a book going? That's a good point. He could be. Could very well be something to look at. Therefore, yeah.
See it as I feel as if he's been manipulated by her, and both of them have just kind of forgot who they are. Well, not her specifically. I don't know if she's pulling the strings, but what do you think the whole Harry and Meghan thing?
I think he's come across as quite an angry bloke that's got a lot of issues, and he's gone and aired him in public. I mean, you know, it's not for us to say whether that's right or wrong in terms of if that's his personal feelings and he wants to shout to the world what he's done. I think the issue with some people is the money that's being made out of that. Yeah. That's what I personally think. Obviously, they're making a lot of money. So is his grief being commercialized? You know, is he genuinely this you know, upset? And he probably is, because he's been through a lot. But then obviously you've got the amount of money that's being made. So it's a fucking hard one to sort of work out what's right and what's wrong. For him, it's right, but maybe for the royal household, it's wrong.
Yeah.
The royal family, it's wrong. You know, he's gone down that path now. And there's no turning back. So you know, he's going to have to deal with the situation.
Yeah, I can't see why he left and tried to protect his wife. I get it if it's to do with his mum.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's maybe been manipulated to then.
Yeah.
They're saying they want a peaceful life, but then they're doing books and they're speaking out against his brother. Like that's no matter what's happened. Like you don't speak out against your brother. Like that's a sin in its own. Like what was the Queen like?
She was a really nice lady. She was, I'd spoken to a number of. Well, you don't speak to the Queen; she speaks to you. I mean, some people get young with that. So, but that's how it was. You know, she's served the country for a long period of time, but she treated her staff with respect. Yeah. One of her footmen was a raving alcoholic, and he would sometimes turn up to open the doors for her when she came back from doing visits, and he'd be drunk.
Yeah, Loopy Lou, I totally agree with you. On something on this scale. You say, I am done, fuck all, fuck off. Simple as. You know what I mean? You're after a buck, fuck off. Go find some other fucking elite to earn some money from. Yeah? You don't give them nothing, like, if you're innocent. If you're innocent.
But she'd ignore that. She'd ignore that fact. And just, she knew what he was like. One time he came in and the Queen was 5 minutes away.
Definitely, Leo. I totally agree with her. I think the Queen was holding our family together with the people behind her, covering up loads of stuff. Even I know you love the royal family and all that, but like Andrew just put a dark fucking shadow over it all, like, and he genuinely thought he could get away with it. That's why he done that interview, because he thought he could get away with it. That's how thing they are, like. They take us like a bunch of silly cunts, like. They genuinely thought they could get away with it.
And he came staggering towards us in his penguin outfit. It had too much. He goes, I need to go through the garden gate to wait for the Queen. I said, hold up, you're off your face. We can't let you go in like that. I called up the inspector, come there, she knows what he's like, let him in. So he staggered across the fucking gravel forecourt at the palace and let him in the garden gate, and he was there waiting for the Queen when she come out and opened the door for her. Yeah. You know, if that was somewhere else, he'd get the sack, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But because she's loyal to her staff, she just ignored it. Do you know what I mean?
Does the staff, as they seeing people make the food and stuff in the Buckingham Palace, like, do people have to test it or eat it first, or is it just
no, I don't believe. I've never seen that anyway. I've never seen that. She's got her own private chefs, and I think there's three different sort of for the staff. There's 3 different restaurants. You've got the upper class, which is all the senior members of the royal household have got their own restaurant. Then you've got the middle tier. Then you've got obviously the waitresses and the footmen and all that. At the lower level, they've probably just got a fridge and a fucking microwave.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the food side of things, there's obviously one of the best chefs she's got there, isn't she? Do you know what I mean?
What was Charles like?
I didn't really see him that much. He's a bit aloof. He wasn't really. I'd never seen him like on the grounds as such. He did acknowledge just every now and again. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't horrible to me or anything like that. You know, I'm not going to disrespect people that haven't done anything to me, or I've not sort of got the vibe. Do you know what I mean? But he seemed all right. I think he's the heir to the throne. He was brought up in a certain way. They're old fashioned. They expect to be looked after, be served. That's how they were.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of negatives with that job as well, but there must have been positive. Like, what was the perks of working in Buckingham Palace?
Obviously, you get well paid. You get well paid for it. There's no stress. You know, you're not dealing with the stuff that I've mentioned before when I joined the police. You're dealing with just protection. You get to meet all kinds of people and celebrities and stuff like that, and it's just standard, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You can put your head on your pillow at night and not have to worry about paperwork, court, or whatever else.
Loopy Lou, I agree with you. I think Harry is not Charles's. Personally, that's why he fucked off, took his family and fucked off, because he seen what happened to his mother, and he don't want that happening to his family. But I disagree with what Harry's doing. To be fair, I don't think he's the way he's going about it now is all wrong, and he's making it all a laughing stock, and making a quick buck out of say a bit. Yeah, I know, even lad. I know. I'd be careful. I put a disclaimer out that it's running along the bottom of the
What
screen.
sort of celebrities have you come across?
Oh, flipping hell. One who was a bit of a tool was Elton John. He turned up one day because I was doing the party in the Palace. It was the Jubilee in 2002. And he was coming in to look at something on the grounds or something. And a Bentley or something turned up. And the driver was there and he said, "Yeah, Mr. Elton John." I went, "Right. I obviously need to see him because I don't know who the fuck you are. But I know you're not Elton John." So I opened the window and I said, "Afternoon." So he just looks at me and looks away. I thought, "You wanker." Not even a hello. I thought, "Oh, do you know what?" And yeah, so he wasn't all that. But Brian May was in there because he stood on the roof. Do you know what? There was loads of people I've met. I just can't reel them off my head now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, most of them are pleasant by and large.
What's the worst thing you've seen in Buckingham Palace?
The worst thing I've seen, well, apart from that domestic incident, I haven't really seen any. When you say worst thing, no, there's nothing. Well, give me an example.
Just like, did you see any bad stuff? Like, or was it just all kind of normal? Just
yeah, no,
day-to-day kind of jobs?
It was just normal stuff doing their jobs. There wasn't really any bad stuff per se that went on in there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was pretty standard.
So, what's your whole rundown on the Prince Andrew thing? What's your whole opinion of him?
Right, basically, he just needs to stay out of the public life now. He's done. Stick a fork in you, you're done. Do you know what I mean? He's got no place in public life. He's said too much and he's done too much. The Epstein visit was one of the nails in the coffin. The interview was the other nail in the coffin. The association with over 6 or more convicted sex offenders. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we could go on and on and on. He's had 30 years of living a hedonistic lifestyle and it's come on top for him. Why? Because he's never listened to any advice. And he's not, I don't think he's ever going to change. And no one really wants to see him back in any sort of position within the.
No, I agree with you on that.
Royal family. Who's going to want him to come and cut a ribbon on their business? No one. So I don't see there's any way back for him. I mean, he's probably going to try and fight tooth and nail to claw something back, but I don't think it's going to work. Public opinion is so far against him. I can't see him getting anywhere.
What's your opinion on the Epstein death?
Again, was a lot of people. I'm sort of one of these people. You look at the facts. We assume this and we assume that, and people say this.
They got to him, boy, because Epstein could have blown them all, the roof off of all of them, all of fucking Hollywood, all of them. That's why he's gone.
But what are the actual facts?
Because there's fucking hundreds of them out there, fucking hundreds, and not just Andrew. He's the tip of our iceberg. He's fucking all of Hollywood, music. Fucking hundreds, thousands of them, I expect.
Trouble you have is when you're dealing with powerful people in that sort of environment, that the facts sort of seem to get lost. Do you know what I mean? They sort of get lost, and you get a lot of fucking supposition, as it were. So, did he commit suicide? I think probably. Do you
think so? What about the stuff that you're doing now, Paul? I know you're doing a lot of charity work. Let's touch on that.
Yeah. As I said to you, I'm doing this interview to try and highlight a charity called Embrace CVOC, which is Child Victims of Crime. And it's a small charity. And it basically helps children that have been directly or indirectly affected by crime and their families, includes counselling and stuff like that. So if people
You've put yourself in the crosshairs, fucking Mr. Page. But big up.
Could Google it, CVOC, and maybe donate something for these people. It'll make a difference to kids that need help. It really would.
And how can people get involved?
If you go onto their website, CVOC, embrace CVOC, and there's lots of ways you can get involved. You can do charity events if you want, or you can donate.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lou. I think they made it look like suicide, but they bumped him off because he could fucking open up the can on all of it.
It's you can get involved. Just go on the site, and there's all the connections you need to go and move forward.
What about plans for the future, brother? What you got planned?
I've got a TV work coming up. Whether I decide to do it or not, I haven't chosen that. I think I'm pretty much done now. I've said what I wanted to say about Prince Andrew. It's the truth, and there's nothing else I can say about that. You know, I can't add to it. I can't take away because it's out there now. But I just think people. My issue was I just think people should look at the facts of what I've said about this individual in all kinds of media that work.
In all fairness, Mr. Page, you haven't told us anything or told me anything that we don't already know. I don't know about you guys. We haven't really mentioned much new.
The TV stuff that I've done and form their own opinion. Yeah, of look at the situation, what he's got himself involved in. Look at the man himself. Look at the people that have come forward to talk about what kind of individual he is, and then make up your own mind.
Do you have a worry for your life?
No.
How so?
I just think it's one of them things, isn't it? You know,
because speaking out against such a powerful family.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I've got a lot of support from other police officers and former royal protection officers, but they are in fear of coming forward and giving information out what they've got. And so, you know, I've put some of the stuff out there. I've been used as a pipeline to sort of get it out there because they're too frightened, because the Masonic influence within the police was big. And obviously, if a royal protection officer speaks out, if they've got a business or say, it could be damaged, you know, because people might say, oh, he's gobbing off about the royal family. And that's what happened. A lot of people are frightened because they don't want to get, the attention drawn onto them, and negative attention.
Have you ever been discredited yet? Like
No.
writing negative posts up in the papers or...
Oh yeah, I mean, I get no, what happens is obviously I went to prison for fraud.
Oh, fuck it, here we go.
And obviously it's saying I deserve to get my sentence. Probably should have got a longer sentence if I'm going to be honest with you. I made a lot of bad decisions. They weren't mistakes, they were decisions that I made, conscious decisions which were completely and utterly wrong, and it affected a lot of people. But at the time I got myself in so much financial sort of debt, millions, that I tried to trade my way out of it on the stock market. And I lied to people and I took people's money and told them it was all good when it wasn't. I just didn't have the courage. I didn't have the backbone to stand up and say, look, it's all gone fucking wrong. I had a reputation. I'd become a millionaire while I was in royal protection. So, I had a lot of money and people trusted me because I was driving around in £80,000 cars, and I had a luxurious lifestyle. And basically what happened was I took a hit in the markets, decided to create a currency club, put a lot of police officers' money in. We were dealing with millions. And I went from buying shares to trading spread betting. And spread betting is basically gambling. Well, we started the stock market, but the difference is...
Yeah, you called it, Lou. You called it, but fair play.
You buy a share, it's got to go up to make money. Spread betting is you can bet on markets to go up or down, so you can make money in the markets going down as well as up. And so if I was trading, when I was doing my own thing, I was doing £1 million a month.
And now he's skint and he's writing a book. Yeah, fucking, it's like he's doing what Harry's doing.
From Buckingham Palace, trading on my fucking phone on the teletext. Yeah. And I had my own dealer with Halifax. I had a £500,000 credit limit with them. So I could buy shares on credit and have to pay for them from 28 days. I was making 20 grand a week, sometimes 30 grand a week. So the money sort of, it dehumanizes you because you're dealing with so much money. And then all of a sudden I got a bad kick. I managed to get out with about 80 or 90 grand. So I lost a lot of money. And then I went into this, I thought I could do it in the spread betting. But if you put £10,000 in, and this is important for people who are doing this, you put £10,000 in an account, you can trade up to £100,000 because you get leverage 10
Always about fucking money.
times the amount you put in. What that means is that you can
Always
trade up
about fucking money. Bastards.
£100,000, but if markets go against you, you're going to lose a lot of fucking money. And I started off all right. We started making money, and then it went fucking tits up. I just, like I said, instead of having the guts to say to people that it's all gone wrong, I continued in a corrupt way, and it just come on top. I ended up having a contract put out on me. You know, I got locked up in Pentonville for fucking 6 weeks for witness intimidation on police.
But don't they people get like 10 years for fraud?
I mean, that was an eye opener. Obviously, getting locked up. I was a serving police officer, and I'm put in Pentonville
You get locked up with Brian Earl. Yeah.
prison, and I was there for the first day, and I got in with a fellow who was from a gang in South London, and we got on like a house on fire, and I was in the canteen queuing up for my food, and they took your name off on this list, and this he goes, Page, Paul Page, because you're fucking old Bill, you, aren't you? I was like, fuck, all right. So you could hear a pin drop. There's like about 10 geezers behind me. I'm in the thinking, what the fuck am I going to? I haven't got a radio now to go urgent assistance. I'm on my own. So I thought, right, I've got to think quick. So I went, who the fuck are you talking to? I'm in here for witness intimidation, which I was. He goes, oh, and he started, and I said, what do you want to do about it then, mate? Yeah, I said, I'm not old fucking Bill, you silly cunt. So because he wasn't too sure, he's like, I went, all right, brother, all right, I made a mistake. All right, calm down. So, all right, you fucking calm down. So I went back to my cell, and I said to Joel, the fellow I was there, I was like, oh, fuck. And then, so I was eating dinner.
I'd be rumbled.
What's that about? Fuck it. Well, fuck all, mate. Don't worry about it. So anyway, we all get locked up, and all the canteen boys are still out cleaning up. Anyway, he's gone back to his cell, got a fucking newspaper, my pictures in it, innit? So half a dozen of them have come up, they banged on the cell, died in the flat. I'm going, wait, cunt, put the see that's you in it. I was like, fuck. So Joel was like, oh mate, what are we gonna do? They're gonna think I'm a grass. So sitting there, but because we got on, I said, listen. He goes, I've got people upstairs. My cousin runs.
Yeah, Loopy Lou, that is a big thing these days, and or may have been for like years, like, but more prominent these days. Fucking devil worshipping, selling souls. Yeah, they're all fucking doing that. Especially these fucking elite. They're all into it.
Shit in here. He goes, I said, right, I'll sort out some money for him. I'll put some few quid in his account, get him to look after me. He said, yeah, we'll do that. Anyway, 6 o'clock in the morning, about 4 or 6 girls, I can't remember, big fuckers, they were a couple of cells. Don Page, get your stuff. You're going on the you're going on the fucking raw
protection.
Yeah, you're going on the VP wing. I went, no, I'm fucking not. I went, yes, you fucking are. I said, no, I'm not. I said, here's my witness. I said, you put me on that wing, yeah, I'm going to stab the first person I come across in both eyes. I said, so there's a witness then. That's
what's that? Is that the non-swing guys? Is this the same wing Tommy Robinson said he wasn't going on?
If I go on that wing, I'm putting you in the frame for that. He goes, are you telling us you're a danger to other prisoners? I went, yeah, I fucking am. Sex cases and nonsense.
Yeah. Okay.
I said, I'm not living with them. So I said, all right, you'll have to go on the block. If you're a danger to other prisoners, we'll put you on the punishment block. And I said, yeah, and if anyone's ever been to Pentonville, you know that's the worst place to fucking be. It's a shithole. The prison's a shithole anyway. But the punishment blocks in the fucking basement.
Fuck me, Liv. You were right about this guy, though. Fair play. You called it out, bruv. Yeah. Oh, I can't. Karma, I can't.
And so I got marched down there. And they stuck me in it, and it was fucking horrible. And there was all bog rolling in the fucking walls down the sink. And I was like, what's this nut down? Who's been in this cell? So what you do is when you get a cell, you clean it. You've got to clean it because there's all kinds of piss and all kinds of bodily fluids that are, you know what I mean? You just clean your cell. No telly or nothing like that. You're in a punishment block, you got fuck all. So I cleaned this cell up, took all the paper out the fucking walls and all that. It took me ages, right? And I was asleep at about 2 in the morning. I was like, I could hear something rattling in my fucking, I think someone was on my noodles, yeah?
I haven't been locked up, guys, but there's got to be one thing fucking inmates in a prison ate more than a fucking Wrongun. It's got to be an ex-cop, isn't it? Yeah. It's got to be an ex-cop, like.
So what the fuck's that? And something ran across my face. I put the lights on. I got fucking cockroaches everywhere, all over me, in my fucking food. I was like, fuck's sake. Now I realise all the fucking bog roll was in the. So I had to spend the next hour and I'm putting all the fucking bog roll back in the gaps in the wall, stop them from coming through. But yeah, it was horrible. It was like fucking. They kept coming to me every couple of weeks. I was in there for 6 weeks on the block. But every week the governor would come and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be down here," because I was a serving police officer still. And I think they were worried. I said, "Look, why don't you go on the VP wing? We'll keep." I said, "I'm not going on." So I collected a load of cockroaches. And you know, you have the IAGs, the independent advisory. You get these people that come around. Like,
he was still serving, man. Fuck. He must probably put fucking some of these inmates inside, like,
right, how's prison? There's this, you know, like from outside the community and all the rest of it. So I kept saying to this governor, if you don't leave me alone, keep asking me to go on a nonsense with, I'm going to want to see these people and show them all the fucking cockroaches that you've got running around in here and the rats that are running past my window. She said, all right, no problem. Stay there. So I rode it out for fucking 6 weeks in the block. And then I managed to get bail.
So, did you have a gambling addiction?
Well, I said I had a gambling addiction. I'm not going to use that as a fucking excuse. Do you know what I mean? It was a factor, contributing factor, as I see it, in my downfall. Yeah. But unfortunately, what happened was because I was dealing with so much money, I lost the value of money. And so if you know, if you had £100,000 on this table now and I took half of it away, you'd think, fuck me, I've lost half the money. But if it's on a screen, it doesn't register that you're losing that kind of money. And I just went into this mode, and the amount of money, because what I looked at, when it went wrong, I thought, fuck.
Okay, now I like this chap, right, for his old school policing values and that. But now, as this interview is going on, this cunt is looking like a fucking right cunt. He's looking like a right cunt. This is like the Prince Andrew interview. You know what I mean? Where you're like, you can't, Mr. Page.
I had this nice life, you know, and I'm going to let my family down. I'm going to lose everything. You know, what am I going to do? And I, instead of just dealing with that situation head on, I went the wrong way. And I tried to gamble my way out of that situation with other people's money.
How much did you lose?
£3 million of other people's money and £2 million a month. So about
3 million of other, and 2 million of his own. 5 million quid.
5 mil. You know, and it's something that it's a bitter pill I have to swallow every fucking day when I wake up and realise. I used to be well respected. I was, you know, people say, "Oh, he's probably a wanker for what he's done in the job," but I was, you know, I did a lot of good things in the police, and I've done, you know, bad things, as I've said. But I turned into this. Now I said you're bent for the job, and then bent for yourself. And then I turned bent for myself, as you know, and I corrupted other police officers. I mean, I had fucking when we had the syndicate, I was sending
Stop the interview.
hundreds of thousands of pounds in police cars.
What's he doing to himself?
To different police stations to pay out police officers. In fact, he went up and down the country. Up in Scotland at the time, it was Police Scotland, wasn't it? That was the force. You know, people up there all the way down Greater Manchester. So I was sending people that are going up to Balmoral with loads of money on them to weigh them off for their monthly, quarterly earnings they were getting off me. It was like, it turned into a big fucking pyramid scheme, you know, a Ponzi scheme. Not intentionally. I never knew what that was.
Like a Manoj kind of thing, people putting money in and getting it out and then every couple of months.
I was sending money, hundreds of thousands of pounds in police officers' accounts. They were drawing it out, and I was throwing it across in armed police cars with the blue lights flashing to get across town to get to the fucking other neck.
Do you ever remember the Heart scheme?
Yeah.
People used to put £1,000 in, and then once you moved down, you get £8,000 at the end.
That came into Royal Protection at the time, and the individuals that run that, the police officers, asked me, because at the time I was the money god. You know, I was driving, like I said, in fucking seriously expensive cars and going on nice holidays. It was all my money at the time. Do you know what I mean? Then obviously they come up to me, "Oh, do you want to pump this? Tell the boys, because I'll listen to you." And I looked at it, I thought it was a bit pants. So I put a few quid in myself and said, "Well, it's ain't no wet tits up." And the individuals, the officers that were involved in that, we basically, one of them got taken off the unit, moved to Windsor overnight, because they found out there was a plot to smash the fuck out of him. Which there was, but other old Bill were going to beat the shit out of him because they'd lost about 80 or 90 grand in total.
But, so what was the coppers doing? Just putting money into what?
They were putting this in the hearts.
Yeah,
and it just all went bandy. And so they made money. The two Royal cops the
ones at the start would have made the dough.
They made the dough.
I thought this would be an expose on Prince Andrew, but this is just fucking an expose on the Met police force. Oh, fucking hell, this is unreal.
In Glasgow.
Yeah, I mean that's it. But you know what? At the end of the day, they didn't.
I'm surprised he's opening up as much as he has. Fucking hell.
Fuck up as bad as I did, you know. And but I always one of these people that I say, if you dish it out, you better be prepared to take it. So you know, I've said what I've done in the job, and then it's come back full circle and bit me in the fucking ass.
When was this?
That happened in 2000, and I think 2003 it started going pear shaped, and then I got convicted in 2009, and I had a contract put out on me because I took some money. I didn't realise it was from serious criminals. Took some money and fucking so they put a contract out on me, and I ended up nearly killing a sun photographer because I thought he was a fucking hitman, and I had to go to court for that. And I put a gun in his head, and mate, it was just all wrong. I was just going downhill. My mental state. I wasn't off my head, but my capacity to think straight had gone by this time. Do you know what I mean?
Were you taking gear, booze?
No, a drink. Yeah, never took gear. Only steroids when I was in prison. But yeah, drinking a lot.
I bet
my capacity to think straight was gone.
What did you leave the royal family for?
Basically, because I was doing all this the currency club, it was called, or it was cash. It was naughty. We shouldn't have been doing it at Royal Protection. I was turning up in my Range Rover, and I've got a black Range Rover, the 2 Range Rovers and a Porsche. And I took leave from the job. But what happened was they put my file down the back of the fucking cupboard, so no one knew where I was or what the fuck I was doing. Everyone knew what I was doing, but if management turned up, they didn't know what was going on.
Oh, fuck.
So, because it got to the stage where I was paying people to work for my shift. I was paying people £300 a day, coppers to come, instead of being off, come and work my shift so I can fuck off onto the markets. And it was using police resources. As I said, one time I had to take some money. Some fellow who was worth 100 million was involved with me, and he put money in, and his contact, who I knew, I had to give him 50 grand, and he was late, so I need to get this money up to him. So I met him in
fuck, are you listening to this, guys? This silly cat.
A shopping centre in Beckton car park, and I brought a police area car with me, BMW with 2 officers in it, and I gave this fella the 50 grand, and I said, just in case you get mugged on the way to London, they're going to follow you. So I used got that car to follow him to Limehouse Link. They've got another police car on the other side to escort him the rest of the way.
Bent as fuck, this cunt. Bent as fuck. Do you know what I mean? Fucking hell, bells, guys.
Into the way he needed to go. It's fucking mental what we were doing.
You fucking laugh.
Mental, do you know what I mean? Just to make sure that money weren't going anywhere but where it needed to go.
What was the most that went through?
I used to have about 150, 200 grand on my floor, putting in envelopes. I mean, the neighbours used to joke, say he's got more police cars on his driveway than the local Nick, because it'd become people coming taking envelopes for them.
Fucking Essex boys. These Essex boys is fucking mad.
Money and all the rest of it.
Oh, shit.
It just got fucking out of hand. Do you know what I mean? And we
Hello,
just lost.
passage.
That's the trouble. Money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In the stock market's the devil's casino. It turned you in for a half decent individual, like I thought I was half decent, into a complete fucking slime ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Listen, I've been a gambler. I've done it for over 20 years.
I once lost £80,000 on online fucking roulette.
Easy done.
In one night. I was pissed. I think I was doing property. If I'd have just stuck to property, I would have been all right.
It's greed, though, isn't it? It's something. I wouldn't even say greed, because no matter how much you want, it goes straight back.
It starts off as ambition, right? Then it turns to obsession. Then it turns to greed, and then ultimately addiction. That's the way I sort of processed what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
you got greedy. You used your position to get fucking greedy, and it fucked you. It just backfired on him like it do. Fucking dull bastard.
I still, as I say, I've got no one else to blame but my fucking self. Prison probably saved my life, because going to prison as a police officer, that was the first occasion when I went to prison, Pentonville. So I learned a lot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How to survive. There was no way I was ever going on a fucking nonsense wing. No fucking way. If I'm going to get levelled out, so be it. How can I look at my children in the eye when I've had to mix with them fucking scumbags? And as I've already described what I did in my time as a police officer to some of these individuals when I had the opportunity. So how am I then going to fucking go from that to living with these people just to protect myself? So when I got convicted at court, and they sent me down, I got put down in the cells. I was like, fuck's sake. And because what I did to get through the court case, I had a bottle of Sprite, but I was filling it up with fucking white wine every day. So I was sitting there listening to, because it was tough, listening to people, how you've let them down and what you've done. And it was killing me inside. But I was in denial. I was going, fuck off, I didn't do all that. I was in denial. Yes, I did everything. I did it. You know, I turned into a monster.
So this is a confession, isn't it, by an ex-cop? Like, this is just a confession. It's supposed to be about Prince Andrew, for fuck's sake. Oh shit! Fucking. Oh dear.
Look back now and I think, fucking hell, who the fuck was that? But I was in court and it was in the papers every day. You know, my
You'd
wife
still be doing it now if you didn't get caught.
was in the dock with me for money laundering, and she had fuck all to do with it. She had nothing to do with it whatsoever. I had more people, police officers and civilians, running, like, laundering money. My wife didn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? They bust my balls and said, listen, go quietly and we'll let your wife go. That's what they said to me. They're fucking trying to blackmail me. That's why the Prince Andrew stuff come out, because I was so angry that I thought, you know what, fucking have some.
What's going on elsewhere, guys? Is it all fucking fuckery and shit, is it?
Like that. You want to fight dirty, take
Drama.
the gloves off, let's go. You know, I've got plenty of information. You know, and they said to me, oh, he's fucking trying to get his colleagues. I'm not a snitch, I'm not a grass. Do you know what I mean? There's colleagues that are still in the police now, that are senior officers that that are there because I've kept my gob shut. At the end of the day, the officers that gave evidence against me were wounded. But I turned on them and I started saying things back. And I shouldn't, you know what I mean? Because I was in denial. Because if you believe something long enough, you know, a lie long enough, it's true all of a sudden, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you mean, Moon's a lunatic? What the fuck is going on? What's going on? Fucking hell, we have a week and a half off. What's going on, guys?
I'm lying about, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do it, fuck them. What about you did this, that, and the others? I should have just gone, you know what? And anyway, so I got guilty. My wife got off halfway through because I realised there was nothing. Well, why is my wife here? Why? Got sent down and I was in a cell with a fella, John, who's just got done for £10 million VAT fraud. And if anyone knows, when you get done for VAT, you're going to get a shafting. You know what I mean? And he got a 6. And he was such a nice bloke, but unfortunately, he's crossed the VAT man, hasn't he? And anyway, and there was another fella, that big bloke, who was a PC from Hertfordshire, and he was a lump. Right? It's like, oh, you? He goes, oh, I'm fucked. He's corruption. He goes, but then I joined the job to be corrupt. I was like, you wanker. I thought, oh. So anyway, I'm thinking, right, you're my wingman now, aren't you? We've got to work together. I said, listen, when we go to the big house, you need to switch on, mate, because it's going to come thick and fast. Right? So he's going, what do you mean? Is this, you know, what he did was, he was that archetypical bent copper I told you about, bent for self from the off. And he was going around nicking money when he's doing drugs raising. He was putting £4,000 in his pocket, right? And he goes to me, I said, how'd you get fucking lifted then? He goes, them wankers, anti-corruption. He said, they were on me. I knew they were on me. And I did this raid. And he goes, there was money. And I knew. I said, I knew they were on me, but I still took some money anyway. I thought, fuck it. I was like, you're off key, ain't you? I was like, fucking mad. He goes, yeah. And I was giving information to this drug dealer. And he was going robbing these people, and we was divvying up the fucking gear and the money. He goes, I knew they were following me. He said, I had his number on a cigarette box. He goes,
they are, Lou. They are, but I got to agree. Yeah. And this guy is as dodgy as they fucking come. And he's only telling us what he want to tell us. You know what I mean? This fucking guy is fucking... Oh, this is supposed to be about Prince Andrew, for fuck's sake.
And I thought, shit. So he's pulled over. He said, I'm going to go. And I said, I went to go on this off license, but I quickly threw the cigarette box in the fucking bin, yeah? Because that was the connection. He goes, when I've come out, got in my car, went home. I was looking, nothing. 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning, I've gone straight through his door, boof, with a big red key. And I nicked him, took him back to the police station. He said, interviewed him. And then I've got the cigarette box out. He goes, we found that in the fucking, your glove box of your car, mate. What you got to say about that? I went, you fucking never found that in the glove box. It was in the bin. No, it was in your glove box, mate. Fucking fitted him right up. But like I said to you, five and five,
He was
innit?
guilty anyway.
He was guilty as fuck. So
Yeah.
they've fitted him up. He was like, them dirty bastards. I said, what do you want about dirty bastards? What we've done?
Yeah.
I said, so anyway, we get put on the bus to Wandsworth. And bearing in mind, I've been like guilty verdicts. Now I'm fucking, I swifted me straight off. I didn't get bail for reports or anything like that. No, because I fucked the judge right off. You know, I'll terrorise them, I'll be honest with you, because I've been drinking this wine every day and just fucking gobbing off to the CPS and the anti-corruption muppets who were sat next to me. I kept leaning up going, oh, wanker. Like I was abusing them, something wrong. And I mean, to be fair, they were doing their job. I understand that. Do you know what I mean? But I was in that, you know, I was off key.
Lost.
I was lost. Yeah, I was gone. And so we get put on the bus to Wandsworth. It's all in the papers. It's on the news. Roll cops fucking been, you know, nutted off with a six.
I bet this is Chrissy Morris's best fucking friend. I bet this is Chrissy Morris's best friend. Or Brian's.
Whatever. In fact, I didn't get the fucking six then. I got remanded straight away. So anyway, me and Laughing Boy, this corrupt fuckwit from Hertfordshire, and this John were on the bus, and we go to Wandsworth. They debus everyone else off except for me and Matey Boy, because we did 2 old bill, weren't we? So they get us out. They goes, come and use topes. They've cleared everyone else out. Now it's our turn. Fuck me. It was like a busman's convention. There was about 20 screws in. They all come to see the bad cops. And we walked in. One of them's gone behind the counter. Which one of you is Page? Went, I am. He goes, I said, take you're going on the road then, are you, mate? Went, fuck off. I said, I was pissed. I've been drinking, right? I said, you can fuck right off. He goes, oh, you're a cocky one, aren't you? I went, yeah, I fucking am. And they were laughing at me. They thought, oh, wanker. And I probably was. So I said, no, I'm not going on the road, neither is he. And I looked around him and I said, just fucking stay with me. And then we got put on a reception wing. And as I walked through, fucking hell, they were going, you pig cunt, you fucking wanker, you're dead. All this fucking. And or was that when we actually, I don't know if that was not reception, that was when we went to the thing. But anyway, in reception, we've gone ourselves, right? And now he's starting to get shook, this big fellow. He's thinking, fucking hell, because now he's in jail. Luckily for me, I'd already had a bit of a turnout, so I knew what the coup was. And he's going, fucking hell. He goes, what are we going to do? I said, right, break your fucking razor right now. He goes, what? I said, break your fucking razor up, get that blade and start carving the bottom of your fucking toothbrush ASAP. He goes, what for? I said, you're going to need something. Because if it goes off in here, mate, we're dead. So I just fucking started sharpening up my fucking bottom of my toothbrush, big time. I said, get that fucking kettle on. Get that sugar, leave it next to the fucking kettle. He's going, what are you on about? I said, mate, at the time I was doing that, then I was making a wedge for the door out of newspaper, soaking it up and making like a V shape to put it under the fucking door, right? Because what you want to do is, if someone's going to come through your door, you want something there. Because you're not allowed to have wedges and all that, the screws tight, but you make it out of paper. And I put it under the door, just say enough, so it'd be like that, yeah? So I'm thinking, if some fucker's coming through that door, they're only going to be able to do that. By that time, sugar in the kettle, bosh, have that. Because I'm in survival mode now. I'm fucking whatever streetwise situation I've got, it's in here now. I'm fucked. And he's starting to realise the gravity of the fucking situation. Do you know what I mean? You know, it was all big on the streets, lifting drug dealers' money. And it was a big lump, and he thought it was a geezer. And I'm in the old bill and all this fucking bollocks. Yeah. Now he's realising you're not in the old bill anymore. You're in jail. And the most hated people in jail are paedophiles, grasses, and old bill. Yeah. And he's like, fuck me. He was starting to wither. Do you know what I mean? But I think, listen, I need this cunt to watch my back. So I can't have him going pear-shaped on me. So anyway, as we're sitting there, the telly comes on. Who's on the BBC News? Fucking me. Oh, roll call. I'm thinking, fuck's sake, could it get any worse? Right? And so the next day we get put, or was it a week? I can't remember, a few days anyway. We get put on the fucking
420. This is supposed to be vote Prince Andrew with that. This fucking bent bastard cop up here. Fair play to Old Lewis. He spotted him fucking start of the interview. Fair play. But like, what a cunt. What a silly cunt, like. Sorry ass bent God, I can't.
in the wing we're going to, A wing, B wing, whatever it was. But as I've walked through, they're on me, aren't they? They're all going, you fucking cunt, you're dead, you fucking slag cunt, right? Fucking pig cunt, and all that. I was like, just walking through, for you fuck's sake, I've really done it this time. He's behind me, but they don't say anything to him because they didn't know he was old Bill. They only knew I was old Bill because I'm on the fucking tell him in the papers. Do you know what I mean? And so that was his sort of safe thing, right? So he goes in the fucking through into the wing, mate. Everyone's looking. It's like shit. It's gonna come at any, you know what I mean? At any angle. I've got my fucking thing ready to go. Or did I make another one? I can't remember. But anyway, I had it. I had one, and so we got put in a cell and got the kettle ready. So get that fucking kettle ready. Go make the fucking wedge. Blah blah blah. I was put it under the door. And then the screw company goes, "Oh, Paige, come here." He goes, "There." Goes, "Oh, all good." It's a fucking bench screw, isn't it? Straight over to me like that. Because anything you need, come and see me. I said, listen, I need to get a blow. I need to speak to my missus. They said, he said, come out, I'll take you upstairs and use my phone. Because I didn't have any PIN credit. Anything you need, just to get me food and stuff like that. And so he looks after me, but he's going like, watch your back, man, because they're all talking in there. So yeah, sweet. And so we again, the canteen situation, fuck's sake. So I've said to him, right, listen, you can't hide in the cell. You've got to get out there about, because if you're hiding in your cell, this weakness, mate, you're going to get fucked. They don't know you, right? They don't know me. So he's like, oh, mate, he's starting to shake. And I said, right, we come back, we do a load of push-ups, get the adrenaline out of your system, we smash the push-ups out, right? And he's going, oh, mate. So we've gone to the canteen to get our food. Everyone's looking, everyone's fucking on it. Can't there. So I'm getting the food, and then one of these geezers goes to me, ain't like that in the fucking police canteen, is it, mate? He slops my fucking food. I'm like, listen, you cunt. I've had to do it. What am I going to do? I'm either going to wither and die, or I'm going to front it out and get a kick in. You know what I mean? Or worse. So I said to him, who are you fucking talking to, you cunt? I said, come round here and say that to me, you fucking prick. I've had to. I mean, I wasn't in the, you know, I wasn't being an hard man. I wasn't even frightened because I was so fucked off my head, out my head. I didn't know where was my emotions. And the screws just looked the other way and fucking walked away. I thought, you wankers, because obviously I've been a cocky cunt downstairs and when I got booked in. So they thought, go on, cunt, have that. So anyway, it all went quiet. It all just went fucking quiet. And I looked around and there's like 20 people looking at me. So, right, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Anyway, the geezer said to me, he goes, all right, calm down. Calm fucking down. I went, no, you fucking calm down. Anyway, I walked back to my cell. By this time, matey boy's having a heart attack. He's going, fucking hell, so get the wedge, mate. They're coming. Right, and he's shaking. He's fucking, I'm thinking, he's a big cunt. He's like 16 stones like that. And he's just turned into a complete fucking jelly. Right, so we're ready now. Anyway, this fella I had around who's come to the door. He goes, hey, bruv. I said, yeah, what's up? He goes, listen, apologies for that. You know, fair play to you, you know.
Yeah, you talk just like Chrissy fucking Morris's, dude, but fucking, if you listen to Chrissy Morris and the way you fucking give it to her, it says Chrissy Morris 101.
Got you know, fair play. So he put his hand through the gap, innit? I'm thinking, I've got my shiv like ready to go. And I'm thinking, he's at well, but he wasn't in a position, he wasn't going to do it. He was a melt. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't going to get the water ready. I'm thinking, do I shake the geezer's hand or do I upset?
Fucking hell, guys. Is it kick? It must be kicking right off other places, because it's gone down to eight viewers, right? So, you guys love the drama, but I don't know.
Set him up, what do I do? Innit? Typical fucking gambler. I'm like, fuck it. Get in for a penny, in for a pound. So I've shook his hand and it was all good because I was thinking, and it was all good. So I think, oh, okay, I fucking survived that little situation. I didn't realise this.
What's going on here, Lou? Do you want to jump on, bruv? Or is it better not to talk about it? Like, just keep on going, like, it's dupes. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on, yeah? What the fuck is going on? Yeah, I'm gonna, because you guys don't want to fucking, you want a bit of peace and quiet. I'm gonna keep on going with this. You're over here for a bit of peace and quiet, like, yeah. Let's just have a look at this. If it's that bad, I ain't bothering fucking. Let's have a look at this. Okay.
But obviously, the one thing that I don't think anybody can justify is that when you talk about Muhammad, it is stated that he was with a girl 6, 7 years old, and I think he married at 9. No matter what religion.
I am on Telegram, love. I just don't bother with it that much. Like, I am on Telegram more, I believe.
Can't justify that. Even we talk about the Bible as well. Like, I think was it Lot the guy's name was, and he got to his daughter's pregnant. They're drinking blood. They're talking about slavery. But all religions are quite satanic. Like, they're quite dark and deep. But the one thing that I can't justify, or anybody can justify, because I've asked my Muslim friends, is this real? Is this true? And they say, yeah. Like,
Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6. She still had playing with her doll. Only had sex with her when she was 9, which
hold
is
on.
rape. So she was 9 years old. He was 56. So yeah, that's in their scripture. That's their prophet.
Because the Quran has, people think it is peace. Because if you look at it, there's no drink, there shouldn't be murder, there shouldn't be all those other things that it says. So when you debunked all that, like, how did you find all that out? Like, what is it secrets there, or is it plain in sight for everybody to see?
No, it's just that's. I read the Ibn Ishaq's biography of Muhammad, the life of Muhammad, to understand. Like, we have Jesus. Who is this guy? Who is this guy who's revered as the perfect person that everyone should follow? And when I started reading his life, I thought, this isn't perfect, and this should not be followed. Yeah? When it comes, like he beheaded 600 people in one day. He was a warrior, a successful warrior. But that's what. So when I talk about Islam, I have looked into it, studied it. I bought out my own Quran. That went to number 1. But that's banned from everywhere as well. It's called Muhammad's Quran: Why Muslims Kill for Islam. But that was so when you pick up the Quran, it's not in chronological order. So one thing Muhammad said one day is next to something he said 15 years later. Now, abrogation in Islam says what he says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier. So the latter things he says. So there is a lot of peaceful verses in the Quran which people keep quoting. You've heard the one where if you kill one man, you kill all of humanity. Like Nick Clegg quoted that verse after Lee Rigby was beheaded. If you kill one man, in the Quran it says, if you kill one man, you kill all of humanity. If you carry on reading that verse,
all right. So hang about. It's capital T, at, as in email, at sign, little f, y, space, all capitals N, Y, N, W, A. Together? Okay, capital T, then at, as in the email, at, little f, y, space, capital, all in capitals N, Y, N, as in Yankee, November, Whiskey, Alpha. So Taffy, for not with an A, is at. Got it. Okay. Are you doing that now, love? Or in a bit like? Come on, Telegram now.
It says unless they cause mischief, and then they must be executed and have their hands and feet cut off. So in context, that's not a peaceful verse, but it's pushed to us as a peaceful verse, totally out of context. So yeah, there's, as you said, there's a lot of bad history in lots of religions, but I obviously had my focus on Islam, or I had my focus on Islam because I believed Islam was the biggest threat to this country, to our freedoms, to our safety, to our security, and to our stability as a country. I believed, because I've somewhat shifted my mindset on the biggest threat where we're at now with the developments over the last few years. But my biggest concern, and that's just through my life of growing up in Luton, was Islam.
Because we look at the stats with sexual offences in the UK, I think it's over 80% are white, but the stat that you had said 3 years ago is legit as well, where the majority of grooming gangs is nearly 80% Muslim.
Yes, I think it's nearly 90. I think it's actually exclusively like paedophilia, like lone predatory individuals acting alone is pretty much exclusively white, yeah, in this country. It's upwards of 90%. But upwards of 90% of this country is white, yeah? So it's a demographic that fits with the demographic of this country. When you look at grooming gangs, which is large groups of males acting together, then the statistics show that 84% to 90% of the men convicted of this crime are of Muslim, are of Islam, are follow Islam, yeah? They're Muslim names. And you get that from taking all the names and then checking the origins of the names. Now, 84%. Now, Muslims make up 4 to 5% of this country, but yet they're responsible for over 80%. So let's just say over 80%. They're responsible for over 80% of the convictions of gang rape of children. Why? That's the question I ask. Why? And it's something that we have to look into to understand is why. And you're not allowed to ask that question. It's like, well, okay, well, say we've got Sikhs in this country. How come they're not doing it? We've got Hindus in this country. How come they're not acting like this? And that becomes into the belief system. That's what you start looking at then, the belief system of Muslims when it comes to the legal age of sex, of what they believe, if they're following their book, if what they believe is acceptable. And then it becomes into, which is where I go down the path, which people don't like, is there are multiple verses, 4 or 5 verses in the Quran that say outside of your 4 wives, you can take whatever your right arm possesses. This is only when at war, yeah? So when at war, in the Quran, it says when at war, they can take women as sexual slaves, non-Muslim women, outside their 4 wives, totally acceptable. Now, no one can argue that the 1,400 children in Rotherham were not taken as slaves. They were taken, they were pimped, they were beaten, they were abused, and some of them were murdered as slaves. The question I keep asking is, why is it the numbers? Why so many Muslims acting like this? Why is it a predominantly Muslim crime in this country? And again, I've done a 4-part series. It's going to be a 6-part series called The Rape of Britain, which is exploring this avenue in Telford. And while we're on this avenue, I'll point out, because some people need it pointing out. Of course, I don't think every Muslim agrees with this. Yeah, my Leeds court case, when I was sent to jail for asking the men who were walking into court, how do you feel about your verdict? I made very clear in that video. There's Muslim lads I've grown up with in Luton Town, yeah, who would want to fill these men in for acting the way they've acted. They would totally be opposed to these crimes. But there's still this massive problem. Yeah. So we've got to be able to talk about it openly, explore it openly. Okay. I'm not saying every Muslim's doing this. I'm not saying it's exclusively all Muslims. Okay. What I'm saying is there's a massive crime, there's a massive overrepresentation. We need to understand why.
Yeah,
anything we can understand that can deter, limit, or stop the numbers of young girls that are being prostituted, pimped in our towns and cities, we need to explore and look at. And in Telford has a 1.7% Muslim population. Yeah. This is Telford. The police investigation in that town identified 1,000 victims that were used. In the police investigation, they identified over 250 Muslims, yeah, in the town. Okay, when you take the demographic of Muslims in Telford, 1.7%, you take away the under 16s and the over 60s, you take away the women. Yeah, there's only like 1,200 Muslim men. There's only 1,200 Muslim men, and you've got 250 of them identified by the police. Another. An independent inquiry identified 350.
I got Apple on there. Yeah.
We sat down with one girl, and we got 203 names of men who had raped her in that town. Yeah. Then you're talking like nearly 20% of the men, 20% of the Muslim men in Telford were involved in prostituting and raping children. 5 women are dead, including children, in that town. This is just one small town called Telford with 3,500 Muslims in it. Yeah? This is a massive problem. Now, I looked in that city, and what I've done is I interviewed 12. I spent time with 12 girls. Spent about 18 months with them. Got to know them, gained their trust, listened to their stories, and done a real in-depth investigation into what's been happening in Telford. We found police corruption. Police were working with the gangs. We identified, as I said, identified upwards of 250 men involved. And what I'd done is each time the girls named the men, we dissected it all. And then we pieced it together. So once the men were named by more than three girls, yeah. So we've got 3 girls who don't know each other, naming the same men, prostituting, grooming them, and raping them. Now, the police investigation, as I said, identified over 200. They prosecuted 10. You prosecuted 10. You've got over 200 men who rape girls in this town, and you charge 10. You're not talking about small crimes here. You're talking about, when I say I spent time with these girls, their lives are destroyed. Their families are destroyed. We're 15, 20.
Totally agree with that, Victoria. Totally agree with that. And in fairness, I don't think any people from the white community has got, well, I can only speak for my own area, like calling out, if it was my brother or my father, I would call him out, knock him out, and then call him out. No problem at all. No problem at all.
Years on, and some of the victims, they're still suicidal and trying to kill themselves. They're still hooked on drugs. They're still depressed. They're still suffering. Yeah. The men swanning around in sports cars, running businesses, all of them running businesses, successful businesses in the town. In the groups we identified, we had the leader of the mosque. The leader of the Muslim Council of Telford was one of the main men identified by 3 people. Yeah. So we showed all of this in an investigation. And then we explored, we asked the girls, what were they called? Was there any mention of, and they're all called Gura, dirty, they're all called dirty Gura, white girl. It was all racial. There was many religious comments made. So just exploring it, and it was probably, I'd say, out of everything I've done, the most difficult. It fried my head. I don't know. I think anyone who deals with sexual abuse victims, or anyone who spends time in looking into these cases or understanding these cases, needs a massive reward, because the things that they take on themselves by listening and going through the crimes, it's horrific what has happened to these girls, and no one's faced up. These men are still running around Telford now. Yeah, we've produced documentaries of multiple victims, naming them, giving their stories of what they've done to them.
Hey, Danny Jones is giving them fucking lifts and that, you heard?
They're all still running around Telford.
Do you think you've got anywhere with it, Tommy, over the last 5 years, like doing what you're doing, or has it just become so draining in your life that you think, what's the point?
No, I totally don't. I know we've got somewhere with it. Everyone now knows the word group. They call it grooming gang, don't they? The grooming, like a nice little polite word for it. It's called love jihad in India. It's called lover boy in Holland. What we're talking about is predatory gangs of men beating prostitutes.
Lover boy. Fucking Sia never mentioned that, did she? It's called Lover Boy in Holland. Didn't say that to us, Sia, did they?
Shooting and destroying children, yeah, and enjoying doing it. And it's not about their sexual gratification when you go through what they're doing to them. When you go through what they're doing to them, we had one girl. We had one girl who gives us the interview, who the man drags her out of the car. He drags her up to the woods. He sticks his cock in her mouth, and then afterwards he urinates all over her. He stands and pisses all over her. That same man then murders a girl. Yeah. So what's he spend in jail? 2 years? 2 years he spends in jail, and now he's running a restaurant.
I just had a woman, Sarah
Fuck.
Sands-on, who killed their son's abusers. 3.5 years she got to double their
They
sentence.
doubled it. I've seen it. They doubled it.
Yeah.
She went round to his house. He's a paedophile living on the
For 40
estate.
years he's been doing it.
He's been for 40 years. He's been. I remember that case is a couple of years old.
Yeah.
I read it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
What a hero she is.
Yeah, amazing. She should be hailed as a hero.
She should be.
So
She is a
many
hero.
kids, yeah. But
has she had support?
not yet. She's kind of still dealing with
So she had support either not just for herself, for her children, but what I mean is she's left broken when she was away from her. So she's been taken from her children. She was taken from her children
because the court system gave that man bail over nearly 50
Bastards.
the crimes he'd done, and they gave him bail. And she was more worried that he would go and do more stuff to her kids, so she took it into her own hands. Went to see him for him to admit his guilt. He said, "Your son's a lying." She gave him 8 times, and then she got 3.5 years, which is not too bad, but.
No, it is bad. It is
The double the sentence is worse.
No, because whose fault is it? It's the judge's fault to give him bail. He's a prolific offender with a history of offending, right? When I looked at him, I've looked at it. I remember looking at it. He's a prolific offender, and this is like all these men. Why are they on bail? They're given bail. They're all just disappearing. And it's not like, as I said, it's not like in our cases. It's not like one girl.
Big up, you'll
You've
say
got
that.
1,000 girls. Yeah? You've got 1,000 girls.
You come over for a bit of peace and quiet, you'll say. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I haven't got a clue what's going on, but it sounds like murder.
In Telford that you've identified that have been raped, and you prosecuted 10
What have I missed, guys? What the fuck?
men out of 200. So what they've done to this country, the police, and people have been rewarded when you look into this. Yeah, so like Manchester, there's a police officer in charge in Manchester. They identified 100 girls after a 15-year-old girl was murdered there. Yeah, they identified 100 girls. They identified all the men that were involved. I think this is what Maggie Oliver might have resigned over anyway. That they identified all the men involved. They bring their prosecution. They arrest them all. Yeah, and then they ditch the whole case. 3 months after they ditched the whole case, that head police officer that ditched it receives the highest reward from our royal family. Yeah, receives the highest reward. They're rewarded for this.
I after seeing some of your comments, guys, I really I'm like, I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. But it looks bad. It looks bad. Fuck, I asked Dave earlier, is everything going all right? And he said, yeah, no issues, no drama. Say no more.
If it was happening in one town, there was a cover up. Yeah, you say, okay, one police local council has covered it up. When it's happened in every town and city across the country, and it's all been stemmed and covered up for decades, yeah, that is a conspiracy. Okay, who's behind the conspiracy? Everyone knew it was going on. Everyone's known it's going on. So when you say, oh, have we got anywhere? Yeah, people now know about it. But what they've done is they just make token arrests. So in Telford, they arrest 10. You know 200. There's another 190 that you know have raped kids.
Oh, if it's the women beefing, if that's what it is, I wouldn't even bother getting involved, bro. Just stay over here with me. Stay out of it.
And they're still walking around the town. And that's why I focus my documentary in Telford. And my last episode is on the council. We're going to go for the council. Yeah. And we're going to go for the council because the council, these are all white men, 10 white men who work for Telford Council, all wrote to Amber. So when this was breaking in Telford, yeah, and it was bubbling in Telford, there was calls for an independent inquiry. These 10 men wrote a letter to the Amber Rudd, what was her name? The Home Secretary. They wrote to the Home Secretary. They all signed it to ask them not to do an independent inquiry. One of these men's jobs is in charge of child services. So this cover up. This was a Labour cover-up in Telford, because they've all got things to lose, because they've all let it happen. They've all known it's happening. And then they've all been rewarded all through their careers. Anyone, when you look at all the different cities, when we look at, I looked at Rochdale, Rotherham, one of them just got the place to be the MP, didn't he? They put him up for the MP. They've had to reverse it because of the outcry. But they've all been rewarded for covering it up.
What makes the changes then to protect kids? For me, I've always said it, bring back hanging. Like, if you harm a kid, you should be dead. Like, in America, I know they castrate people who harm kids. I think in Russia, you're not allowed to leave the country. You get life sentences. But here, you can change your name for less than 20 quid. You can change your identity. You can
now, thanks to Nicola Sturgeon. Yeah,
you can. Unbelievable. You can change the passport details. Because a lot of these people who've, like that old man Sarah killed, he changed his name numerous occasions. I had Della Wright on, who was abused at 6 years old. That kid who had already had previous was taking Sarah to see the parole officer. She was sitting outside. That changed his name, changed his identity. That why is the law so lenient here, and why does it seem as if nobody cares about kids?
Because the hierarchy don't care about kids. That's very established. That's very the elite, the cabal, whatever you want to call it, whatever name, the Matrix, which has become a famous name for it all now. They actually do not care about kids. There's global elitist paedophile rings. There is sacrificing of children, which people would have thought sounded mad. You've seen the whole Balenciaga story that blew up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
I haven't seen this one, Lou, but it's a lot more interesting than the last one. Well, the last one was interesting in the end, but I think this is more something that we can all relate with.
Child pornographic pictures of children in a major brand's main advertisement, all hidden. All the codes hidden, the bow, you see, they spent the word wrong on the, on there, they had the reel of tape on the table of their Balenciaga advert, and instead of saying Balenciaga, it had B-A-A-L. Now, Baal was the god of child sacrifice. It's all straight in your face, yeah? And it all goes all the way to the top.
Why do you think?
What we was talking about earlier, guys, yeah, the elite and that, devil worshipping, I can't remember, Loopy Lou was saying it, devil worshipping, selling their fucking souls. Fucking elite.
Jimmy Savile ended up involved with the royal family.
Because it goes all the way to the top.
Mm-hmm. When you look at
they're all at it. They're all at it. And I know that sounds crazy. And people who haven't researched this or looked into it or really had a delve, this is a rabbit hole. I don't know if I'll advise going down because it's going to shock the hell out of you. When you look into all of it, when I started looking at Balenciaga, now I started looking at the art side of it. And there was two brothers, the Chaseman brothers. I looked at their art and I started looking at all this art and thought, no, this ain't art. No, this is child pornography. Yeah. And this is all the top corporations. It's all interlinked. Mm-hmm. It's all interlinked. And when I say it's all interlinked, even I think we'll get onto Ukraine, but the Balenciaga top fashion head is then part of United 24, which is a platform for raising money that Zelensky is head of as well. And Ukraine has always been the center for money laundering and child trafficking. That's what Ukraine was, yeah, with pride.
Big up, Amy, love. God bless you. God bless you.
To this war, prior to everyone flying up their Ukraine flags. That's what Ukraine is and has been used as by the elite for decades and decades.
Won't be long now. Won't be long. It's easy for me to say. Won't be long though.
What do you think about the war in Ukraine now?
What do I think about it? It was orchestrated by the European Union and their expansionist ideas. So we started that war. Why did we start that war? Who's behind the war? We can go deep and down rabbit holes on all of this. Like I just see BlackRock have come out. You know who BlackRock, corporation, £100 trillion corporation, who receive, say they get 100 billion taxpayer. It's all taxpayers' money. It's all us funding it. They get 100 billion a year coming in from the American government to build weapons that no one needs. That are a ridiculous expense. They need wars. Yeah, they've always found ways for wars with Afghanistan, with Iraq, illegal invasions of countries to destroy them, break them down. And BlackRock have come in now because BlackRock are now doing the investment to rebuild Ukraine. You blew the shit out of it. You made sure it went to war. Yeah, you provoked a war. So in 2014, this is where I look at. I don't know if you looked at what's happened on January 6th in the United States, which is where over Donald Trump's election, people come out and protested Congress. And they called it what they called it? They said it was like a insurrection. So they said people attacked the government and they built it up as this big terrorist attack, which it wasn't at all. When you look at it, they opened the doors. The police literally opened the doors and let people into the American Congress. So January 6th, 2014, armed militias supported by us overthrew a democratically elected government in Ukraine. Yeah, that was celebrated by all of our world leaders, the same world leaders, the Bidens, the same world leaders that are wanting to lock people up for walking into Congress and calling it an insurrection, all clapped and applauded what happened in 2014 in Ukraine, and they called it democracy. And then what happened is once they gained power and they outed the democratically elected government.
And it's mad. I was saying it earlier on Dave's. The first country to step in and help Turkey with the earthquake and that was Ukraine. They've been fucking, because they've obviously got to get people out of rubble, collapse buildings, believe it or not. So big up Ukraine.
They then launched a civil war, which Russia, even if you look now, yeah, so the areas that have gone Donbass and these areas, even in 2012, they have always elected pro-Russian. People speak Russian. They are Russian. yeah, in those areas of Ukraine. When the new puppets come in control of Ukraine, which was all about getting the European Union, they want NATO there. Yeah, that's all it's been about. It's about bringing Ukraine into the EU. It's about NATO. It's about destabilization of Russia. It's about getting rid of Putin. And who's behind it all? I've just watched what's happening. It frustrates me so much watching. I think 60 Russians were set fire and burned alive in one day. Yeah, they set fire to them all. No one ever faced prosecution for it. All these things were going on. They outlawed speaking Russian. The racism against Russians was encouraged and supported. So I watch all of this going on and think, and the whole time we're all flying Ukraine flags and celebrating it and saying that it's great, but basically, and all of our taxpayers' money, I think 100 billion has been given from America. Yeah, it's just used for money laundering. This war is used for money laundering.
But you're not looking now and realising how easy it is. The masses can be manipulated.
Oh, totally.
If it's not standing outside their home with pots and pans, you're focusing on war that people need to understand. There's families that fund both wars, and that's going right down the rabbit hole. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper to get a better understanding. They called David Icke and that crazy 30 years ago. A lot of stuff he says, man, is fucking on the money.
Bang on.
But when did you start opening your eyes to it all? Because for a man who started EDL, who's proper English through and through, would do anything for his country, and you start questioning things. Look, when was that realization for you?
It was I'd say the cancellation, the looking at the world globalist view. Seeing the world globalist view against the interests of the nation states, against the interests of, I watched Donald Trump's speech when he went to Davos, and he basically told them that economics, he was focusing not on what globalism. So when I was looking at globalism, looking at what they've done, and then I looked at, and Ukraine really busted for me, because I looked at Ukraine and started looking at what they've done there. If we destabilize that country, you don't care about the Ukrainians in it. You've launched a war. When we say you've gone back on every agreement you had with Russia. Yeah, every agreement you've carried on pushing our forces closer to surround him. Yeah, to surround the country. You have, and it's all, and why? That's what I kept asking. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And it's all to do with the banking, and then I started, and then I looked and thought deeply about what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, and do you know what? Because we were always told that we're fighting insurgents. Do you know what? You come into my country, I'll be an insurgent. You'll be calling me an insurgent and terrorist. Because if you invade a country based on bullshit, yeah, to destroy it, then those people are going to come out and fight you. Now, I've always had a real strong allegiance to our armed forces, loved our armed forces. But when I started going through all the conflicts, I just think, our armed forces are used as cannon fodder.
Fuck's sake, I wonder where everybody gone. I just put Jupes' fucking channel up and there's 160 watching. Fucking hell. What the fuck is going on? The fuck?
For a globalist plan that needs to destroy certain countries, that needs control of countries to...
What the fuck is going on? I genuinely, I'm got a clue what's happened. I'm not even asking. Fuck it. Fucking. It's a war. Oh my God.
Inflict their worldview and force their world that they want. And Ukraine really brought it home. And then I sat and thought about...
Yeah. I'm staying well out of it. I
sat and thought about how the conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq.
I just have this channel over here for the fallout, innit? Just for
Libya. Look at Syria. They tried to get rid of Assad. We were on the side of ISIS, funding ISIS. We created the Taliban. And then give them back the country of the Taliban and act like and these leaders act like they give a shit about women's rights. It winds me up. I think that you see what's happening now with the Taliban. I follow what's going on in Afghanistan.
Change the channel title to Fallout Shelter.
Understand now? It's disastrous for women, yeah. But they acted like they cared. They acted like we went in there for that. Yeah, no, you didn't go in there for that. Oh, you didn't go into Libya. You didn't. You went in against Gaddafi because he was becoming the king of Africa, because he was becoming too successful, because he didn't want your banks and didn't want your finance and didn't want your currency. He wanted to weaken your American dollar. Yeah. So when I look at all the things you've done, and then I think about if I was if I had family in those countries, yeah, it would radicalize me. Yeah. I'd be calling the British government terrorists.
Do you feel conned?
Do I feel conned? Yeah, I feel conned. I think we've all been conned at times. We've been conned for decades and decades. Absolutely conned. Do I feel conned? Do I feel, mate, look, does it change my view on Islam? No. Do I feel total sympathy for many of the Muslims at those times, those invasions? I just think, Jesus, man, we were being what they told us, and no one's been brought to justice for what they told us. It was all lies. It was all bullshit.
Yeah.
They went in there and did not care about carpet bombing and bombing and bombing and bombing, and 1 million people cared, and they don't give a shit.
Well, Tony Blair's done the most destruction.
Tony Blair's done the most destruction. He's sitting directing everyone and telling.
You've got to look at Donald Trump, who gets so much stick, but he was the only president never to start a war. If you got Obama, Bush, Clinton, they've done more damage to civilians, to human life in history. Like, it's unbelievable. Even we've got to touch about the British as well. Like, my grandparents and that fought in the war, and I loved them to bits. Like, but the Britain has invaded over 90% of the world. Like, it's unbelievable. Is it greed and power, or do they have the right to do it, or do we get brainwashed to think, okay, you can go and if you talk about
they build it up to so then when they believe like after September 11th, they would never have had the support of the American public to invade another country at that moment in time. September 11th happens, everyone's queuing to sign up to go to war, to fight this enemy, this war on terror. What does that even mean? What did that mean?
Well, you look at Gaddafi, I think everybody had jobs. I think there was no homeless. I think
universities were
free education around the world. But we're led to believe they're bad people.
Same as Syria.
Saddam Hussein's, and so is it gold? Is it poppy fields? Is it oils? Like, we don't know. Is it greed? I don't know all the ins and outs. I can watch a few YouTube videos and take my own assumption. But for me, my soul, there's just something not right in this world. Like, my job is just to question everything. Always question everything. No matter the guest I've got on, everybody sees the world differently. From you sitting now to you were 3 years ago, it's totally night and day. You're seeing the world differently. Like, when do you then look at it and go, shit? Like, do you have any regret from the past, who you were?
No. I believe that, look, everything that happens in your life happens for a reason, and even the negative things will help build your character. I think I am the person I am today because of everything I've gone through in my life. I think I've done the things I did with the English Defence League and set up because of what I'd gone through in my life. I think you learn. You make mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't made mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes. I've done lots of things I wouldn't have wanted to do, but do I regret them? No. Do I regret them? No. But it's like, I just think when we look,
I was gonna have like a panel after this, but fuck that. I'm just staying up here on my own tonight because this is not fucking falling out and pulling me into fucking sides. Wow.
Looking at it now, and I look at globalism, and I look at the power, and then COVID's come into it, yeah. And then look at what they're doing. And then I sat there and I used to look at Islam, and I still do. Islam's a problem. Yeah. It's a problem for freedom. It's a problem for lots of things. But then I look at the power that they're taking from us. Even like now recently, like the globalists fund the Stop Oil protesters. Yeah? So they fund these protesters to go out and block all the roads. Yeah. All their funding comes from globalists. So they stop the roads, they get on bridges, they shut the roads. The police are literally told to stand down. That's what they do. The police were told to. So the police stand there while these people sit and block your roads. The public become furious because you're sitting in traffic for 8 hours. Everyone's going mad about these protesters who are just walking around and not being stopped from causing mayhem at all. And then now Rishi Sunak is bringing in laws that's going to take all of our freedoms. Yeah. So they create the problem. That's what they're doing. They're creating the problem. Then they come in with the solution. But it's a problem they've created anyway. And if the police just acted and done their job in the first place, you wouldn't need to bring in more laws that are going to infringe on all of our rights. And all it's...
Guys, think of it this way, right? There's like there's tottering between 7, 8, 9, right? And they are you guys, right, are the ones who just had a tit full of the drama. Like, think about it that way. Think about it that way, right? You're trying to be drama free, like, you've had a tit full of it. Big up you guys.
Constantly about, which I witnessed for when I saw, which at first, who knew what it was? Yeah. But then you've seen the manipulation of figures, the taking of rights, the total authoritarian tyranny by governments. and all in the name of healthcare. And then you start, and then it was when I started piecing all the pieces together: wars abroad. Then you've got climate change, and just what are these bastards? These bastards use whatever it is. So even we're on about BlackRock. BlackRock need war. They fund wars. They're behind wars. Then they want to rebuild the countries that they've destroyed anyway. They keep getting richer. It's our money. Anyone? Have you been asked that about your money going to Ukraine? All our money's just took and sent there, yeah, for their war. Okay, so it's sent there for their war, and it'll be sent there to rebuild Ukraine. And the whole time we'll keep having the propaganda of the media throwing Ukraine flags up, everyone cheering about how great Ukraine is. Zelensky's a hero, apparently. He's brought into Congress in America. All these things are going on. He's an actor, right? And he's acting now. Yeah, all this is going on. They're getting richer and richer and richer. Climate change is exactly the same. Who's the biggest investors now in climate change? BlackRock. It's all the same. Yeah, 50% of the EU budget, climate change. There is no climate change. It's all bullshit. You're lying. It's just another tax. Who was the biggest organizer? The Rockefellers, when they were funding feminism. They were supporting this big feminism, like they give a shit about women, yeah, about feminism. Get all the women out to work, which is what they've done. I look at and when I started piecing it all together from Black Lives Matter, I started looking at all of it. It's all about destroying the family. It's all about weakening the men, and you can see. So Black Lives Matter. I've had this on their website. They wanted to break down the family, destroy heteronormativity, men and women. What's wrong with men and women? What's that got to do with Black Lives? Yeah, what is LGBTQ plus? Because Black Lives Matter, as an organisation which is funded by all the same people. Yeah, so they've got all these different groups that they're funding. It's all about pushing their narrative and changing the direction. They're changing the direction of our nations, whether we like it or not. They're changing the narrative. They're changing the discussion. They're enforcing their ideas on all of us. And it all comes back to their worldview and their world plan. And to get their worldview and their world plan, they need weak, feminized men. And that's what they've been in the process of creating for decades.
When you've done your rant for Black Lives Matter,
you snuggle up with your Belgian chocolates, 420. Fuck that. Can I have one? Or two, please?
what was the reaction for that?
Oh, God, man. When I went on my rant against Black Lives Matter, and I went on my rant because I was... Oh, do you know what I ran on?
Question, guys, is Luke involved with this, with the women as well?
Do you know why I went on that rant? Do you know you've watched this documentary I just sent you about this Ellie, yeah? Ellie Williams. Ellie Williams is a girl who has been charged and convicted now of lying about Muslim men who she said groomed and trafficked her in the town of Barrow. I've got a documentary coming out on that this week. When I'm up there, you see the lad who spat in my face
On a motorbike? On a bike?
Comes over on a bike, spits in my face. I give him a couple of slaps, which is justified. He phlegmed in my face, self-defense. And the police come and arrest me at a house, at the Muslim fella's house. I hide the SIM cards. I hide the memory stick. I'm arrested on a GBH Section 18 because he breaks his leg in that. Yeah, I'm arrested on GBH Section 18, and I'm arrested on a hate crime because he says I called him not non-binary something. Yeah, we'll get on to non-binary and all. He says I called him a non-binary faggot or something like that. So I'm arrested on a hate crime. So I go home and think, it's all right. I've got all the footage here. Proves he spat at me. So come home from cells, get home from Barrow, plug the thing in, and my cameraman had deleted all the footage when the police were coming in. So
it's madness, my fucking view. I got five of you with that who want to be drama free. God bless you, guys. Fucking God bless you. Yeah, go on, Luke. You pick which ones you want first, lad.
No footage. So then I sit there and I think, I'm on GBH Section 18 and I'm on a hate crime and I've got no evidence. I'm in trouble now, yeah? So I shit myself. And I come out of my kitchen and then I'm watching Black Lives Matter. And bearing in mind, I've spent 10 years looking at Black Lives Matter. It didn't just create over George Floyd. I know who the organisation is. It was created by two Marxist feminists, yeah, whose job is to push the New World Order, is to push their agenda, is to destroy the family, is to break. They want black people enslaved at the bottom. They still are on plantations. You're on the Democrat plantations in the United States at the bottom. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want you having fathers. In the 1960s, 80% of black men in the United States had a dad. Yeah, now it's 20%. Okay, they've done that. That's been planned. That is the racism. Yeah, people want to talk about racism. That's the racism. Who's behind that? The same people who are funding creating Black Lives Matter. Yeah, they want to destroy you. They want to break your family. And the biggest thing they have to do is break the family. A strong family, a strong father figure, prevents a lot of these things that they want. Yeah, this whole, we'll get onto the LGBTQ plus stuff, but that's what. So I come home, haven't got the footage, turn the news on, see the Commonwealth statue being attacked in London. I know that the people behind this are the same Antifa, the same, it's all the same people, yeah? But I know that now they've whipped up the black community for what are genuine grievances to historical abuse. They
420, by the look of it, I haven't got a fucking clue what's going on in that. Yeah, I've gone over and seen the panel. There's like 160 odd people over there. I hear Moon, I hear Luke, and that's about it. That's all I fucking know. That's why I asked if Luke was involved with this. I thought it was just the women. Oh, fuck it. Fuck it.
using the black community to
I don't blame you, love. I don't blame you at all.
cause a revolution that they can't. Yeah, because they want the trouble. They want it on the streets. I know that Black Lives Matter. There's 30 people dead in the United States,
Yeah,
many of them
thinking
black,
it's best
yeah,
not to know.
from these riots and killings. And then all of a sudden, I think it's in my country now. That division that political division that comes around every 4 years, every time there's election in America.
I was going to have like a bit of a panel, but I thought, no. Fucking, it'd be turned into a shit show, pulling me one side, I'm not having that.
Is now in the UK. And it wound me up. And I went on a rant, and it was ill-timed
I might change the title though to Fallout Shelter.
rant. It was an aggressive rant. And it had a terrible effect for me.
How so?
Because it just caused me mayhem, man. Because I done it on a Russian social media app. So I'm sitting here on VK, which I ended up getting banned from as well. I'm on VK in Russia. I'm ranting about Black Lives Matter as an organization, not about black people. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, what they're doing now, what this is bringing now, the division it's going to bring. Getting on the knees at football, that didn't help. What do you think that solved racism? You think that helped in any way? That's a Marxist. Come from America, so people were angry with it, so people are booing. Then it's caused more division, which is the purpose of the organization. So I've gone on this rant, and it's gone viral everywhere.
What about who's a NFL player that didn't take a knee? Is it Kaepernick?
Yeah.
He never took a knee, but he get released from NFL. $30-40 million contract cancelled, man, ripped up. That it's just mad how.
So he got cancelled on the other side of politics.
Yeah. But you can't speak out against the masses, like you get cancelled. How does two boys from Luton become two of the biggest names in the UK? Andrew Tate went worldwide, most good man. Like, I've seen his interviews. He says you're a solid guy. He always says you get a good friendship. How did that relationship start?
So Tate's from Luton. Well, he's from America, but come to Luton, and he boxed at Storm Gym. So I know people who trained with him, fought with him. And Amir. So Amir is a ex-Bosnian Special Forces, who's the trainer there. He's a very well-respected man, again, a Muslim man, but very well. Everyone I've always spoke to, I ask about everyone, and everyone holds him in high regard. And I think he was like a mentor for Andrew Tate, I think. And so yeah, I got to know Andrew Tate. I did travel out to see Tate in 2018 when I got cancelled. When it got cancelled because Tate wanted to set up a TV studio. Pretty much what he's gone and done, yeah. But he wanted to do it, and for me, at the time, and there was all these different options, but he wanted to do it in Romania, and I didn't want to be in Romania, so nothing come of it. But that's when I went out there to meet him for those discussions. Spent a couple of days out there with him, kept in contact with him over the years. Yeah, that's it. And then, boom, he's become the most Googled man on the planet. But he's always done and said what he's doing now, which is. Some of the things he said, I tried to say it to my son because all the kids are talking about Andrew Tate. And then my son says he's a billionaire. I said, he's not a billionaire. So Tate says he's a billionaire, right? Tate says this, Tate says that. Tate says lots of things. I view it like Tate was creating a image, creating a character as such at times, saying things that were purposely controversial, but saying things that he means at the same time. How do you mix the two? You know, talking about lots of positive things about men and how men should be. But yeah, he blew up and now he's currently sitting in jail, isn't he?
Do you think they could possibly kill him off because he's got so big?
I don't think he's coming out, and I think that he has got too big. He's got too much influence. Look at listen. I'm seeing all the allegations against him now. Yeah, I had an ex-worker called Lucy Brown. She was offered £5,000 by Andrew Gilligan. Andrew Gilligan is a top journalist in the UK. Yeah, he works in the top newspapers, and he works alongside a group called Hope Not Hate. He's worked with them coordinated with them on different things. So Hope Not Hate have been against me for years. I've done a documentary exposing who they are and how they operate. This organisation come in, they're like an NGO. Yeah, there's one in each country. There's an organisation like this in each country. Their job is to attack anyone who speaks out. You go against the status quo, you go against immigration, you go against transgenderism, you go against. I realise it's not just because I used to speak against open borders. Whatever section you go against, they come after you. They find out where you work. They go after your family. They contact your family's work. They try and make them lose jobs. Their job is to destroy your life. That's their job. Yeah. So we think we've got freedom of speech, but you've got these NGOs. So you don't need the police to be coming after you because these groups come after you. So Hope Not Hate, their job is constantly to attack me. What they do is they create. So anyone you fall out with, yeah. Anyone who I sack in my job, they get into them, and then they pay everyone. They got everyone because they've got all this they're funded by George Soros. They've got all this money coming in. So they fund someone to say something. They don't care if it's the truth. They fund them, this person, and then they have all the media lined up ready. This person will make accusations against me, and then the media will pump it around the world. Damage is done. Now, Lucy Brown was offered £5,000 by Andrew Gilligan to paint me as a Harvey Weinstein figure. That's what they wanted. She was sacked from working with me. We had a big fallout. Yeah, they went to her and tried to get her, coerce her, because she was vulnerable at that time. Yeah, she was having a bad time in life, and they offered her £5,000. Now she could have done that. She didn't. Yeah, but she come to me and she'd been offered £5,000. So she could have painted me as a Harvey Weinstein sexual dominant boss figure. That's what they wanted her to do. There was no truth in that, but that's what they wanted her to do. At the same time they wanted her to do that, in stepped Panorama. Panorama, this is where it all gets. Panorama are the propaganda machine of the British state. Yeah, they will. If you go against the British state, they're going to destroy you in their investigative journalism. That's when my documentary I've done called Panodrama, where I got when Panorama approached Lucy Brown, I got her to wear a secret camera to find out what they were saying. Lucy Brown had a recorded conversation of me and her arguing. It was to do with Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawah, two Muslim men who attended a free speech rally in London, and there was a fallout over it between all of us. Yeah, nothing sexual. Okay, she says I've got this fallout, and John Sweeney, who's now sacked from Panorama, right? He lost his job over all this. He says, "How angry does he get?" She goes, "He gets angry." She says, "Okay." He's like, "Okay." And she says, "But I get angry as well." He goes, "Yeah, don't worry, we can clip that out. Yeah, we can clip that out." And then he says, "Right, we can make this into a sexual thing against Tommy Robinson." It's like, what? So when I see all this about Andrew Tate, and a lot of my followers are against Andrew Tate, yeah, a lot of my followers are A, against his conversion, B, against his morality in the way he earned his money. They're against they're believing, some of them, all of the hype and allegations. So this is what's going on. I know what the media have done to me. So when I'm seeing what's going on with him, I'm saying, no, you've got to question everything, because I was nearly Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. I was nearly, they were nearly turning an innocent argument with me and an ex-employee into a sexual thing that was going to be pumped on Panorama. So when I see Vice Media, who recently come out and they've released voice recordings of apparently of Andrew Tate, I question everything. They've released voice recordings of Andrew Tate which sound absolutely horrific. Now, what they don't tell you, there was a rape allegation against Andrew Tate in 2015 from the girls who they've got these voice recordings of. What they don't tell you, what Vice Media didn't tell anyone, is that the reason that didn't go to trial was because the two girls who were making the allegations, when you make a sexual allegation, we've seen it with this Ellie Williams case up in Barrow, your phone is taken off you, yeah, by the police. The police found that these two girls were conspiring to extort Andrew Tate for money. Yeah. So when he was a boss of 75 women who are paid to take their clothes off on TV. Yeah. I don't know what politics or dramas he has being that boss, but these two girls, which the media haven't told anyone, were conspiring, which is why no charges were brought. When you listen to those voice notes, it's like, if the voice notes are as you say, yeah, Vice Media, then the CPS would have prosecuted Andrew Tate 1,000,000%. Yeah. So I just question everything. And Andrew Tate is blown up. He converted to Islam. I strongly oppose to that, strongly disagree with it. I was actually scheduled to have a podcast with him so we could sit down and discuss everything. And you can question his morality and where he's made his money. You can question all those things, but you should also question the media and the level of power that is lodged against him at the minute. I don't think he's going to be seen again.
Scary. Like, he does say you get 3 strikes. 1, cancel you. 2, prison. 3, dead. Like, it's just scary how fast the tide can turn.
if they're invading countries to get what they want, if they're overthrowing governments, if they're stealing elections, if they're lying to you about all these things in order to get their narrative and their one world view needs weak men. They don't need, say you've got men that resist, yeah? What would they rather have? 1,000 blue-haired, non-binary, weak little cowards, so they can tell them what to do, tell them how to live, and we can get, when they're bringing in their 15-mile radius things, I don't know if you've seen what's going on, their plan for the carbon tax, this is the jigsaw I'm talking about, is the carbon, the climate change and your carbon footprint, and they're just trialing this out now in Oxford, so everything you need will be within 15 minutes, and you have to put in an application to leave your 15-minute zone, and all of this will be done to save the planet. All this bullshit, yeah. You'll get, and all of it linked with the digital currency. The digital currency will be linked with your behaviour, like it is in China. For example, I can't get a bank account. I have been closed by NatWest, by Barclays, by HSBC, by Revolut. Every one of them has closed me down. I cannot open a bank account. Yeah, I cannot find anyone to represent me half the time as accountants or anything. Yeah, so that's happened to me now. Before they have it all linked up digitally in some little digital thing, digital wallet. Like, so in China, if you step out of line with the communist government, you can't travel, you can't buy food, you can't do this, you can't do anything, and that's how they want it. And when with COVID, when they just gave the world money, they just paid everyone to keep them happy. Yeah, and everyone just happily.
That's a lot. It's a lot of cats. Right, anybody? Oh, fucking Shahid will be over here. Oh shit. Oh shit.
When everyone was getting the money, they were getting thousands of pounds given to them to sit at home, and everyone was sitting at home thinking, most people were like, "This is great.
Oh, sorry, bro.
We're getting money." And I think AI technology says in the future that most people won't have to work.
What do you think about?
I read that wrong, lad. Sorry.
Nursery kids.
I think about drag queens and transgenderism, and you hear a lot about non-binary.
Josie, I thought you was generally talking about a cocktail head. I'm serious. I'm sorry, lad. Sorry, I totally read that wrong.
Yeah, hear a lot about that?
Yeah.
0.06% of the British population. 0.06% is non-binary. Yeah. 0.16% is pagan. You don't hear nothing about that. Why are you shoving this? And when I say, this is where it gets to the corporations again, because you see the he, they, them, I'm a furry, I'm whatever you're saying you are, yeah? And all the big corporations now, you get an email from a big corporation, it has their gender, it has they, he. So this will be filtered down from the BlackRocks and all the big corporations who like to control the world, all the top corporations, all the top businesses, all the top, like the Starbucks, all these top corporations will end up, then their employees will have to wear it on their thing. And then overnight, they've changed it for 0.06% non-binary, transgenderism, and you've got trannies reading story books. Have you seen them all with their tits out and little kids going up and putting money in them? It's paedophilia. And again, it all comes down to this, where you have to feed it all back. What is that about? What is the drag queen story time is at libraries. It's touring now at libraries in every town and city. It's happening now in every town and city, and people are bringing their kids to it. Yeah, this is the pollution of identity, pollution of what's a man and woman, the pollution of sexualization of children, the destruction of the family unit. All of it is interlinked. All of this is interlinked.
It's trying to normalise some.
It's normalising it
because they're trying to bring the age of consent down to 16 to 12 as well, and they're also.
But they have normalised it.
And they're talking in Scotland. It's not even paedophilia anymore. It's a sexual attraction to minors. It's unbelievable.
You're Scottish, but that's been coming for a couple of years. So what people don't realise,
they're already 10, 20 years ahead anyway.
They are, they are with their planning.
Yeah.
So LGBTQ plus, what's the plus? Where are we going? What I believe now massively is the LGBT community need to staunchly separate themselves from this paedophilic sexualization of children, because majority of people.
She is a builder, different from the rest. Diamonds on her finger and she always looks her best. She is a gangster with 100 mile style. When she walks, her feet don't touch the ground. She is a builder. She plays her lightning, I'm 100 miles high. Does she get the thunder like a god inside the sky? She is a dancer, and she dances in my dreams. Reminds me that the world is not as evil as it seems. She is a belter. No happy endings, unless fairy tales come true. But she looks like a princess and there's not much else to do. I think I love her. She gets underneath my skin, but I've been stung a few times, so I don't let no one in, no even melt her. She is a welter. She is a builder. She is a builder. And can she reach me when I'm high above the shelf? Lost inside the smoke ring while I ponder to myself, is she the answer? The question in my mind is happiness an option, or is love just got me blind? Is she a builder? No happy endings, unless fairy tales come true. But she looks like a princess and there's not much else to do. I think I love her. She gets underneath my skin, but I've been stung a few times, so I don't like no one and don't even build her. She is a builder.
Yeah, that is a banging tune. That is a banging tune. Taff, dedicate that to you, my love. You weren't that one. And every time you hear that, think of me. Yeah? Because you are a belter. I'll never forget that. Don't want to step on your toes, Lou. But I know you know where I'm coming from. Yeah, that was a good remix. Definitely, like, is there any more? Fucking... Any more like that? Belt, Sparkos remix, GPX. Got to be fucking more of them about them there. Yeah, it's a tune, nice, but got me going now for music, lah.
You can now follow me on all my social media platforms.
And then the problems. So, for example, within an Islamic community, if you've got a certain percentage that are hostile and aggressive or extreme, then the more Muslims there are, the more that percentage grows. So, if we look to Europe, the most terrorism in any country in Europe is in France. The reason for that is there's 7 million Muslims. If there were 7 million Muslims in the UK, we'd have equal amount of terrorism. So I see the problems that come and the hostility or the grooming gangs, all of these problems and the non-integration. So one mosque, and in fact, I've seen this because we have a place called Biggleswade, not far from here, and there's no mosque, but there's Muslims. And those Muslims in Biggleswade are separated across the town. They're quite integrated. I've met some of them through lads I met from that I know from Biggleswade. They're more integrated and assimilated than anything in Luton. So when you've got mosques in one area and all the Muslims go to that area, and you end up with them with 35 in one area with where all the Muslims live, they're organised and controlled by Saudi Arabia's money or Qatar's money or Iran's money. And the doctrine or what they're being taught is about intolerance and about non-integration. So when they're all in that area, you can now you could go to Luton and you can meet a Muslim who's probably
I'm the same as well. At the moment, 420, it's like being stung, and with my ex, I was with her like 16 years, and it's like I don't know. You think, fuck it, you know what I mean? But I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one. It's hard to describe, like, and it is. I know what you're saying. It's hard to let people in, then, isn't it? Definitely.
never met a non-Muslim growing up. He could be 18 years old. I met the local imam, young lad, actually a nice lad called Dawood. He's a young up-and-coming imam. And I spoke to him. He said that some Muslims he knows have never met a non-Muslim. They might get to 18 years old. They've never met one.
The pub
They've gone to madrasas. They're being taught. It's like being in Pakistan. And for me, if Islam was like Sikhism or Hinduism, this wouldn't be a problem. The growing community, like Luton, has a very diverse, has a large black community. I don't see a problem with that
because it's people who have obviously it's their religion. The Quran is their Bible basically, and because you're trying to expose that. Is that why people are getting so angry at you and people hate you and playing the race card?
It's quite funny actually, because as the years have gone on, in the early years, look, if I go past I just had one a couple of hours ago in Essex. If I go past a group of young Pakistani Muslims, young lads, I've been a young lad. Yeah? If I was one of them, I'd probably give me grief. Yeah? As a youngster, as an aggressive young male, many Muslims, I meet so many Muslims who are open for chat, dialogue. I talk to them, I debate them. I find out actually that they don't know that much about their own religion, many of them, about what I'd say is the agenda of Islam. But a lot of the hatred, the real hatred and venom, and comes from liberals, white, self-hating, white guilt, self-hating liberals who despise our country, despise our history, despise their own culture, despise their own colour of their skin. And that, I've just been even watching today, that you've got the Trump.
Yeah, that is madness, love. Fucking, like, if pubs are being, oh my God, like, pubs are shutting down everywhere, aren't they? Like, it's, loads and loads of pubs have shut down. So if that's the way they, fucking hell, they'll even turn a pub into a mosque, like. I just thought it was our churches they were using. That is bonkers. That's worrying as well. That is really worrying. Have they got no fucking... They just don't give a fuck. Like, they'll turn a fucking... My mind's gone fucking... My mind's gone... Turned to mush. My mind's turned to mush, you know. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Have you seen the videos of those people screaming in that?
I think there's one in Glasgow. There's people screaming as well.
There's an old man. He's an old age pensioner.
Seen it?
And the venom in all of their faces. These are the people who call themselves, who say they're against hate.
Is this not double standards then?
Completely. But this is going on across the world. This is the left. The left have become the intolerant. The left have become the violent. The left have become the fascist, the extreme. That's the left now. That's the left. And everything they talk about, the hate, the extremism, you hate. So I don't hate everything we do. I say many times, everything I do out of love. I love my country. I love my children. I love my town. I love it, and I want what's best for it. And simply seeing things happen and seeing everyone ignore it and seeing everyone too scared to talk about it. Because the average person, and I do this to every journalist, come for a walk with me. Just come for a walk with me for any town and city. You'll see the average person is completely on my side. The average person feels silenced, feels like they can't talk, scared of their work, scared of their job. We're supposed to live in the bedrock of freedom and democracy. This is the country that gave us the Magna Carta, where no one's free. No one has freedom. No one has free speech.
Because you were doing your thing for the MEP. You were trying to get into Parliament for Europe. I watched a few of your videos, very successful. Everywhere you had a massive following, but also there was also hate. Also there, people balaclavas, shouting abuse. The milkshake thing. I actually seen a video prior to that. The boy who threw the milkshake.
Yeah.
Which was shouting abuse at you, and you've went and challenged the boy.
And the whole media portrayal of that. When you see the media, I watched on. In fact, my mum rang me up going nuts. Mum rang me up saying she's watching Loose Women, and there's a woman on there saying that I was the aggressor. Yeah. Anyone who watches that video, all of the evidence, all of the video, I'm very calm. All of my team are very calm. A young male Muslim is very aggressive. He's trying to get at me physically, aggressively. No one assaults him. Okay, everyone asks him.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt when I went into Bradford. That's exactly how I felt when I went into Bradford. It was like, I'm the odd one out. I'm the odd one out. Like, it was weird feeling. That's why I always, when I was coming back in the van, it was just always good to come back into South Wales. Because I knew I was coming back to some normality, like. It's hard to describe. That's how much it, like, it was a shock at my whole system when I went to Bradford. And that's obviously caused me losing my job, because it was such a fucking shock to the system. It's just it's a shame, man. I was live doing it. That's it, like, that is it, like, mad thing. Mad thing.
Calm down.
It is what it is.
Then I go up to him calmly and ask him, mate, what are you getting violent for? Why have you assaulted 2 women? And then he throws a milkshake in my face. He's hailed as a complete hero by politicians, not just by left-wing activists, by leading conservative politicians, by the police. South Wales police liked the comment online. So the police, leading politicians, media outlets across the world, everyone celebrated him. He commits a crime of assault and criminal damage, and the police give him a lift to the train station. What I found successful at this MEP campaign.
Yeah, I bet, because multicultural has literally smashed England. That's what I learned from my driving job. Smashed England to bits. Bradford being the tip of the iceberg. Bradford was just the tip of the iceberg. And a preset to the way the rest of Britain's going to go, town by town. Town by town. And it's frightening. It is frightening. Because you've got people like Ghost saying, do you know what I mean? It's our fucking Great Britain now. It's not yours. And in a sense, I know in 20 years' time, they're going to be the majority if he carries on. And it's right. He's not lying. Sad. And that
certainly wasn't the result, yeah. But what I found successful,
and that's why I was saying, no, my town, but it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. We'll fight, but there'll be nothing we can really do. There'll be nothing we can do. Like,
is that all the people who support me and follow me saw the injustice, saw the unlevel playing field of law.
Pick up the 5.
Saw the abuse by the media, saw the lies. Everyone watched it. If you watched the videos, if you've seen the Oldham video, but the problem is only a certain select numbers of people in Britain now have seen those videos, because Well, because I'm censored. If I had my social media, the whole country would have seen it.
So obviously you've been took off Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Do you think there's a conspiracy towards you?
Sorry, the 4. Pick up the 4.
Do you ever, how paranoid can you get as well when you think everybody's against you? Because you've stood up against some fucking big names like BBC. These are massive, massive companies who have clearly got a lot of power.
I don't think there's a conspiracy. The whole world knows there is. Everyone can see it. I bring out Panodrama, and the next day I'm removed from all social media. 5 days later, the Attorney General recharges me on the case I'm about to go back to prison for on the 4th of July.
Right, because your case is for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
You did 13 months. You got 13 months for the contempt of court. What was that
Give
charge?
yourselves a pat on the back because you're the drama-free citizens of YouTube. Come on. Come on. Ah, shit.
When you were outside court and you were videoing the grooming
Cup of
gang.
coffee,
Yeah,
I
so-
think.
I've
Big up,
literally just
Moonshine.
spent today with my
Big
lawyers.
up,
I
lad.
prepared my statement.
Charlie.
Sorry, my breathing's terrible. I prepared my statement and as my defence. And basically, when I went up to that court that day, this is the facts,
Big
all
up, guys.
provable facts. I went up to court that day.
Myself a
I went into
coffee, I
court.
think.
I said, "Is there a reporting restriction?" The man said, "I don't know."
I
So I looked. I've done training. I paid myself thousands of pounds to do my own training on the legal system because
Cut your
I've
cookie.
become a citizen journalist, and I didn't know the laws. In my first contempt case, I didn't know what I could and couldn't say.
Oh,
I didn't
do
know
for
where I
me,
could and
please.
couldn't stand.
I don't want to be
After I got
greedy.
my first
Do for
contempt
me.
case, which was for down in Canterbury. And so people understand that. There's a court case going on in Canterbury. A young
There's not enough to
15-year-old
go
child
around, though.
went into
I'll
a
have- I'll have
takeaway,
one.
a Muslim-owned takeaway, and asked for directions because she was drunk. 6 of them took her upstairs, and they gang raped her. All of their DNA was found on the mattress. She was found
Oh,
disheveled,
thank you,
walking down
Charlie.
the street, emotional,
Thank you,
crying,
man.
screaming. The police arrested them. One of them left the country.
I don't know what I've come back to. I don't know what I've come back to. So I don't really think I don't want to know either. Fuck it.
The rest
Fuck
of them
it.
were given bail.
Okay,
I
now.
heard about this, and I heard the court cases going on, and I heard they were still running the same chicken shop. So I went down to Canterbury. As soon as I went into the business next door. There was another business opposite. I said, "Have you seen any young girls in this shop?" And they said, "Yeah, there was young schoolgirls in there yesterday." So for me, it's like, how can these men whose DNA was found at the scene, it's not just an allegation, their DNA was found on the child. She was raped in every hole she had, yeah, as a child. So I wanted to show people who lived in that area, these men are walking your streets. Yeah? This is what's happened to a child, allegedly happened to a child. So I went to the court to do that. Now, when I went to the court to do that, the judge took them out the back, so I couldn't get visual footage of them. I felt people should be warned. I still feel now, the judge at 4 o'clock in the morning, after I went to try and warn people, they raided my house. They took me before the judge, and I was convicted because I filmed on court property. That's what I did. But I didn't know any of these laws. So the judge, those men were convicted and given 25 years in prison. They should not have been on bail. They should not have been running the same chicken shop.
I'll take that advice and I will run. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
That judge failed the British public to keep them safe. That's what I was prosecuted for. I was then given a suspended sentence. So when I went up to court this time, I done everything right. Trust me. Yeah, I went in. I asked about and the legislation on the judiciary website says, and I read it, specifically says a judge has no power to put a reporting restriction on any information that's already in the public domain. So I go in, I ask about a reporting restriction. They don't tell me. I look on the judiciary website. It says that there should be a confirmation on the screen and confirmation on the courtroom door. I've got pictures of both. Yeah? There was no word of any reporting restriction. I went on the court website, no word of any reporting restriction. So I generally thought it's been lifted because the case is over. The jury are making their decision. But because I wasn't sure, I done everything still. I didn't tell anyone any of the verdicts. I knew the verdicts of the first part. I didn't assume guilt. I asked them 2 simple questions. How are you feeling about your verdict? And I was whisked from outside the court. I was taken before a judge. I was refused my legal representation. I was not even asked if I was guilty or not guilty. And within 2 hours, I was sentenced to 30 months in jail. and not just when this happens, from my point of view, I've watched all this happen. I'm then sitting in prison and I'm watching as human rights lawyers and every journalist in the country is bending over each other to give a justified reason as to why I should be in jail. And if ever you can see, and this is just so, and how they're not doing this themselves, let me just show you. If ever you can see
how out of touch they are with the British public. And that's why I truthfully believe on the 4th of July I'll go back to jail, because they're so out of touch. If you, I've got no internet. If you go on YouTube and you put in Tommy Robinson sent to prison, Channel 4, Sky News, BBC, all done big hit pieces, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, telling the country this is why he's in jail.
That's bonkers. Tommy Robinson got no internet.
And he deserves to be in jail. Yeah?
Why do you think they're so against you then? Why do you think they fucking hate you? And
I think they fear the fact that when it's early on, say for example,
Let me tell you why. Because they thinking he's having a go at all Muslims, when he's not. That's why. That's why they're having a go at him. That's why they hate him. Because, well, they all stick together at the end of the day. So I class them all the fucking same anyway.
Nick Griffin. Nick Griffin isn't deleted from any social media, yeah? Because he'll never get a mainstream following, because he is a racist. He was a Nazi. He is all those things. I'm not. I'm a normal lad from a normal town without a racist bone in my body, and I grew a following where then when they look at the figures of people who are listening to me, it scared them. Because then they're thinking they've controlled society. We don't know how long the media has been lying to the public. Yeah? We now know through social media, because we're getting our alternative side of the news. Before social media, they control the population by lying, telling them. So what they've done about me is I've had every single media outlet in the world completely go after me, completely lie about me at every opportunity, slander me, defame me. Every politician or sit on TV, call me Nazi, call me extremist, tell the world I'm all these things, which I'm not. Yeah? I'm not.
Do you think the Nazi card gets thrown about too easy?
I think it's an absolute disgrace to the victims of Nazism. When you look at what Nazis did, and you're calling someone who disagrees with immigration a Nazi, you've absolutely. It's a true insult to the real victims of racism. Yeah? The word racist, banding around that word racist. Do you know what was the first? The first ever racially motivated murder in Scotland?
No.
Chris Donald. You know Chris Donald?
Oh yeah.
First ever. Do you know?
Tell me about it. I said Bradford stinks of curry, and I'm a fucking racist. Shit. I thought I had problems.
That made. Do you know when
Will it be Tommy Robinson? Jesus.
he was murdered? This is what winds me up with the media. When he was murdered, so he was kidnapped 15 years old from McCulloch Street. He was tortured. They cut his genitals off and put them in his mouth. He was stabbed. He was drove around for 3 or 4 hours because he was white. Simple reason, because he was white. This gang then set him on fire and left him to burn. Yeah? Didn't make the front page of one newspaper in this country. Did not make the front page of one newspaper in this country. Now, everyone in the whole country, and this is what it frustrates me. Everyone knows who Stephen Lawrence is, and rightfully so. How many people know who Chris Donald is? How many people know about this murder? How many people know about? There's many murders like this. There's a murder in Peterborough after September 11th. Someone come out shouting shouting Al Qaeda and stabbed a man straight in the head. Didn't even make the news. Doesn't even make the news. So I get frustrated with the media and the hypocrisy. I get frustrated when I see plenty of English kids across this country being racially and religiously murdered and nothing being said. And then, but where I was getting to that point on the Tommy Robinson jailed.
So if you get into politics, if you get into the MEP, what's your goal then? What's your agenda to make things happen? What's your plans?
They change every day. Look at this. This is what I find funny. Who is Tommy Robinson and why is he in jail?
Show that to the camera.
Who is Tommy Robinson and why is he in jail? Yeah? Have a look at the thumbs up and have a look at the thumbs down. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is where the media, you're finished. They're absolutely finished. So the thumbs up is 3,000. The thumbs down is 15,000. Go to the comments, yeah? And there's 7,800 comments. The end sentence, though, Tommy is plead guilty. The lies are unbelievable. 2 things the BBC are good for: lying, covering up for paedophiles. Lies after lies. BBC fake news. He got released on appeal on grounds of an unfair trial. Did you report that too? Well, BBC, he was deemed unlawfully arrested. Not one mention of Muslim group. 8,000 comments on every.
I just found something from your ends, 420. Don't know if you've seen it. Let's have a look. This.
saying the council might feel there's too much local support against it, which we're trying to mobilise, and they might think we might have to reconsider with a new vote. Because that's what happened up in Dudley, Dudley in the Black Country, there was so much protesting and local people up in arms that the council changed their mind. That's what we're trying to do here. Police cars, gangs of them, isn't there? Yeah, an armed policeman as here, an armed policeman.
This was 5 years ago.
Armed police, unbelievable. Well, obviously we're a legally registered political party. We can give out literature on the streets, not a problem. Well, there's only one person. We've had a few interns go away. Not a lot of them are anything. Know what's coming.
Paul, can I borrow you for a sec?
Yeah,
How are we getting on today, Maidstone?
we're doing great. Lots of leaflets, been called a few names, but we're fighting on and we're going to stop the mega mosque.
Excellent. Great support from the locals.
Yes, we're getting lots of support from the locals, lots of leaflets being handed out.
And what's the leaflet we're giving out?
Say no to the mega mosque in Maidstone.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Paul.
Okay, right.
Did they get a mega mosque after? I presume they did.
Not mega ones, anyway. Malcolm, being built. Pause the mega ones, pause the mega ones.
Paul, can we borrow you?
Of course you can.
Sorry to interrupt you. How are you finding it in Maidstone, the support from the local people?
Yeah, I'm finding it good. They've handed out quite a few leaflets and getting a good response from the people.
Excellent.
You know,
We're giving out this leaflet, say no to the Maidstone Mosque.
yeah, definitely don't want this Maidstone Mosque being built. At the moment, I believe it's a little bungalow, and I believe they've got planning permission for a 3-story building, and we definitely don't want it. Neither do the people of Maidstone, as far as I'm making out today. I've come down from Manchester today to, lend my support to Britain First, and everything they're doing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Paul.
You're welcome.
Sorry. Please don't give a shit.
I've turned it down. What's the hell? They're very hostile today, as you can see. The police are just not leaving off. They've asked us to turn our music down, even though there's been no complaint.
Looks like a nice place, Maidstone, though. That's 5 years ago, mine. Anyway, guys, I'm going to knock it on the head, but I got to fucking get up early in the morning. Thank you all for coming over. God bless. 420, Charlie, Moonshine, big up. Everybody else who come over, thank you. And yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back. God bless, guys. Peace out.